Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I hope you already have your Quest ready, yes, or your PC ready. Remember that you can go into our site, thebitconf.com. If you register, you will get a final invite, yes, about how you can log into our VR chat and have this beautiful party we're setting up on Saturday, 8 o'clock p.m. Argentina, yes? So we are starting the last day, but remember, it's never the last day. In La Bit Conf, we always have additional parties. We hope to have you all joining us on Saturday, this Saturday, live, 8 o'clock, in 8 p.m. Argentinian time. So what do we have today? In a very few seconds, we will have Ala Kanani, a very beautiful video about her life, about how Bitcoin changed her life. She's from Africa. Yes, she's the Bitcoin lady from Africa. I invite you to look for her and check her in internet. Yes, she is very, very active in Africa with its Satoshi Center. And we have a very beautiful video done for her in 3D, these beautiful 3D videos. And then we will have a very social day, a day where we will be discussing how to get funding for your projects. If you have social projects, yes. If you are doing projects where you're driving traction, yes, to different communities based on crypto or other kinds, yes, we will have the guys from Binance Fund. We will have Connie Gallipi from BitGive, the first NGO supporting this kind of task. We will have people from 88. It's a very, very good topic to understand and to discuss. Then we will have a panel about blockchain for activism. Yes, blockchain for activism means how do we use blockchain to protect our rights? Yes, how do we use blockchain as a tool for defending ourselves and supporting, yes, different projects that we believe need to be supported that usually are unable to do. And finally, we'll have also a panel about real stories that impact life, yes, things that really are happening. We will have Ala Kanani live also talking about this, her story in Africa, yes, and how the Bitcoin Center is helping others and the strategies that she sees around Africa. And we are planning to do a conference in Africa also, at Bit Conf. Someone from Afghanistan telling her story, Frestag from Afghanistan. So stay with us and let's see the video of Ala Kanani. Welcome.
My name is Ala Kanani, known as the Bitcoin Lady. So Bitcoin for me, it's a lot of beautiful things. I would love to say that. Maybe I'll start off by saying, with Bitcoin, I've got to become a totally different person that I would love to point out. When I was a teacher, I wasn't like that much confident. I wasn't having that kind of confidence that I have now, because Bitcoin has opened doors for me and has made me believe in myself. I've got like a totally different approach to life, and I've developed this kind of confidence that I never had in the beginning. If you would like to talk to my brother, who is the very person I grew up with, together with my dad, who is now passed on, my brother will tell you that I was a very timid person. I was kind of shy. But ever since I became part of the space of Bitcoin, I've seen myself developing into my own person and into my own individual, and having the confidence to stand before people and all that. I think the reason for that is that for me, I've realized that there is no class in Bitcoin. When you go to Bitcoin conferences, you get to associate with anyone, and you never even really get to know this person is coming from whatsoever kind of background or whatnot. People don't take themselves as such. That is my own experience anyway. That is what I have seen so far. People relating to each and everyone without making the other person feel a little bit out of place. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency of love, cryptocurrency of kindness, because I've seen a lot of kindness in people. For me, that's the number one thing about Bitcoin. It makes you confident, and also it shows you some kind of love that it never existed before I became part of the Bitcoin community. I always believe that if my son was alive today, the Bitcoin community would have really helped him to get the assistance that he needed. For him to have needed a heart and lung transplant was kind of hard for me. I didn't have a lot of money to take him where I wanted to take him, so I ended up losing him. But it is during those times that I came to know about Bitcoin. So in 2012, I was really busy trying to find ways in which I can earn money and take my son to some hospitals in India, because that's what I've heard, that it's easier for your kid to get heart transplant and all that in India. So I was trying to work so hard online so that I can make money and take my son there. That's when I came across Bitcoin. With my journey in crypto, I have realized that doing charity work or sending money through Bitcoin is the most easiest and the most perfect way of doing that. So that's why I always believe that if my son was alive during these days, or where I'm into crypto, he would have got the help that he wanted. Bitcoin, for me, it makes things such as charity very easy to do. So if you need to take care of someone outside of where you are, it's easy for you to send small satoshis, some satoshi 0.0 or whatever, BTC, to the person at the other end of the world. Bitcoin is really a cryptocurrency which has got some kind of big social impact. People can start using Bitcoin for such, to help in donations, to help people who are faced by serious problems. For example, when maybe they are facing some wars and there is no food, there is no whatnot, it's easier to be able to send Bitcoin to organizations that are dealing with non-profit. So Bitcoin is the easiest way. So you don't go through a lot of red tapes or whatnot to be able to send money to those kind of organizations. Right now we are faced with the pandemic of COVID-19. So in some places people don't even have food. People are really suffering. Some people have lost their jobs. So if we are to use Bitcoin, for example, to set up an organization where people can be receiving donations so that they can get food and all that, it will be the best way. There are organizations such as BitGive, which is run by Connie, which I really love, and they're using Bitcoin to be able to bring water to Africa, stuff like that. So it's beautiful. And I also know that PEX4 was able to build a school in Africa through Bitcoin. So Bitcoin it makes a whole lot of things so easy, more especially if you need to become part of the people who are really helping a lot and having some kind of social impact in the lives of the people. So Bitcoin makes all that very beautiful and very easy to do. I think that's what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is about people. It's about helping people. It's about building communities, giving people freedoms that they never had in the beginning. That's what it is. So, and also people having that kind, not only freedom as in maybe political freedom, but also financial freedom. If you are to look at what is happening today in a lot of African countries, people are not really happy, because leaders tend to care only about themselves and they enrich themselves, and the people on the ground they are suffering. Take example of what happened in Zimbabwe. It's really painful. You sleep a billionaire, you wake up with nothing. Bitcoin, can really play an important role if we start putting our money into Bitcoin, using it as some kind of store value, where we store the value of our wealth into Bitcoin. It can really help, so that when these people decide, they want to print more money and whatnot, and kill the economy, the people have become very, very safe. Because with Bitcoin, nobody is going to wake up in the morning and say, I'm printing more Bitcoin. So we trust in mathematics. We trust in the method of Bitcoin than the people that are leading us. So Bitcoin, for a lot of people in Africa, it's being used today because people don't trust what's going to happen to their future. As far as, there are corrupt leaders who are busy enriching themselves. So the better solutions for them is Bitcoin. So you see today a lot of young people in Nigeria, in Botswana, in South Africa, in Kenya, you see that they're into Bitcoin because they've realized that the only way they can build their wealth, like real wealth, is to put in their money into Bitcoin. Like what Max Keiser once said, he said at least buy $1 Bitcoin every day. I know for some of people in Africa, they can't even spare $1 a day. So whatever that they can be able to spare a day to buy small satoshis will really, really be helpful to them. I think Bitcoin is more than just money. It's not money. I don't even know if the right word to use for Bitcoin is money or currency or what. It is something beyond that for me. I see something way, 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 way much more beautiful.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Fowler, and today I'll be talking about how UNICEF is using blockchain technology. So to begin, oh, I apologize. If you're not familiar with UNICEF, we are the children's agency of the United Nations. So we have around 190 offices in countries all around the world. We have a budget of around 5 billion. And the way UNICEF works actually is that we have most of our staff in country. So that means in program countries. So you can think of underdeveloped, low income, middle income countries where we supply education services, vaccine services, and any kind of support for children, mothers, young people, etc. So I personally work on the innovation team, which is based in our New York headquarters. And so UNICEF Innovation identifies emerging technologies. And then we actually, as part of our mission, we invest in early stage solutions. And then we also scale proven solutions. So really what we do as an innovation team, we have about 40 people, is that we look at new and emerging technologies and we try to figure out how these technologies can be applied for children and young people around the world. And so I specifically work on the blockchain team. So before I worked at UNICEF, I worked at Consensus, which if you are in the blockchain space, you may be familiar with the company Consensus, which builds applications on top of Ethereum. And there I worked on the social impact team, and then I transitioned to UNICEF, so still working in the blockchain for social impact space. And so in terms of where UNICEF uses blockchain and crypto, we look at 3 different areas. So we focus on innovative financing models. So this could be cryptocurrencies, this could be digital finance, this could be tokenization, really any kind of iteration of innovative financing. The second area that we focus on is efficient transparency. So you can think of this in terms of smart contracts, in terms of supply chain, back office operations, any of the efficiencies that come with really kind of like the baseline use cases of blockchain technology. And then the third way that we use blockchain is to encourage what we consider open source digital public goods. And so we help start the Digital Public Goods Alliance, which you can think of a digital public good as any kind of open source technology that anyone around the world could access and activate and begin to create a solution would help children, young people, really anyone around the world develop. So in terms of how UNICEF has explored blockchain more tangibly, we've actually been exploring blockchain as an innovation team since 2015. So we first did a tiny prototype with the Bitcoin blockchain in 2015. And in 2016, we actually made our first investment into a blockchain company in South Africa. And then in 2017 and 2018, we began kind of laying the foundation for what the team would become. And in 2019, we actually hired our full-time staff, which I joined in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And now we have a full-time staff of about 5. And so in terms of what our specific blockchain team does, we build prototypes using blockchain technology. We do a lot of education and training. So, blockchain 101s, like what is crypto, what is blockchain, what are wallets, what are smart contracts, etc. With our team, with different teams within UNICEF, different teams within the United Nations, really so that they become more familiar with the technology, so that they're more amenable to trying out the technology. So when we prototype, of course, we need buy-in. And so the first step is always education. And then we also do prototypes with our country offices. So like I mentioned, we have 190 offices around the world. And so if a country office, so for example, UNICEF Kazakhstan wanted to do a prototype using blockchain, they would talk to us and we would work with them sort of as technology advisors. So this timeline kind of gives you an overview of the ways in which we've explored blockchain. So as I mentioned, we have really 3 focus areas in terms of day-to-day applications of blockchain. So the first that I'll cover is our innovation fund and our crypto fund. And then a bit later, I'll talk about our internal prototypes, and then I'll get to our learning modules. So in terms of our venture fund, so Actually abstracting a level above blockchain, we as an innovation team invest in emerging technologies such as AI, data science, machine learning, drones, and blockchain. So we look at startups in what are considered UNICEF program countries. So again, countries around the world that are in emerging markets. And we actually invest in these startups. Our only stipulation is that they become open source, because again, we believe in creating digital public goods, which means that ideally their solutions will be able to be scaled and replicated by people around the world. So we're the first really venture capital vehicle within the United Nations, which is really exciting. And so as I mentioned, in terms of what technology areas we focus on, machine learning, drones, AI, blockchain, AR, VR, 3D printing, quantum computing, etc. So basically, there's all these technologies that are out there. And as we know, there's a huge need. You can think of it as social impact, or really just human impact, not even social impact, separate, that really could be impacted by these technologies. So our goal is to invest in startups in these countries where the need is greatest, and to actually scale them in the countries so that they can have the greatest impact. So we have made, and this is a bit outdated, I apologize, but 100 and I think 15 plus investments in startups across 57 countries, which is really exciting in terms of our overall innovation fund. And again, as I mentioned, the idea is to invest in startups and then to scale them to these digital public goods. So again, our only stipulation with the investment, so we don't take equity, but we do ask that all startups become open source. And in terms of how we support startups, of course, through product development, so actually scaling their platforms, doing the tech development, if that means hiring, if that means doing user testing, et cetera, we support them in that way. We also support them through strategic support. So we, as an innovation team, have developers, we have UX, UI designers, we have comms people, we have finance people. So if they need help in any of these areas, we support them as well. And then in programmatic areas. So of course, UNICEF has programs around the world focused on different, more functional areas. So again, WASH, which is water and sanitation and hygiene, health, early childhood development, education. So if, for example, a company wants to do a vaccine supply chain, which we've had a blockchain company do, they would work with our vaccine team. And what we did actually late in 2019 was really exciting. We launched the first to accept and hold cryptocurrency within the UN. So we have the first venture fund. We also have the first crypto fund. So we're the first entity to really deal with cryptocurrency. And so our venture fund now distributes funds within fiat currency dollars, for example, but then we also distribute funds in Bitcoin and Ether, which is really exciting. And so this initial investment was supported by the Ethereum Foundation. And so in terms of how the crypto fund itself works, is that we get donations to the crypto fund, and again, Bitcoin or Ether, and then the same process follows for the venture fund, where we get donations and then we take that money and we choose startups that we wish to invest in. So for this first initial prototype, we invested in 3 startups. We've now scaled that to, I believe, 7 that have received cryptocurrency through UNICEF, which is a first for the entire United Nations, which is very exciting. And so, as I mentioned, we started with 3 blockchain startups, not even 7, 9, I apologize. And we're looking at investing in 5 more via Ether in just a couple months. So we made 12 investments via the crypto fund, which is really exciting. So you can see on the right side all the different technologies that we've invested in using crypto. So all of these companies have been invested in with fiat currency, so they're within our existing portfolio. And so for our initial prototype with distributing cryptocurrency, we decided to invest in companies that we've already worked with. However, we are currently in the review process for selecting new blockchain startups to be added to our blockchain portfolio. And there is an option for these startups actually to receive part of their investment in cryptocurrency, which is very exciting. So an example of a startup that we invest in is OS City. And so they are using blockchain to create digital certificates for universities, for local governments, really at all kind of levels of the what you can consider an information supply chain. And they're focused on Latin America. So that's the technology that we invested in within our initial blockchain portfolio. And then we decided to actually invest a second round in cryptocurrency. As a second touch point, we do internal prototypes, as I mentioned. And so not only do we invest in startups, but we actually, again, have a developer team where we want to experiment with the technology and figure out how UNICEF can benefit from blockchain and crypto. And so one of our main prototypes that we're actually developing is Juniper. So this is actually kind of like a first sneak peek. So you guys are kind of the first to learn about this product, but we are creating a suite of tools to be able to understand what cryptocurrency we hold, to allow donors and the general public to understand how we invest the cryptocurrency, and then actually to create a bit of a management tool and an accounting tool for our finance department and really any kind of large organization or even small organization to be able to process crypto donations in an easy and transparent way. So this came out of, again, our crypto fund. So, we decided we wanted to disperse cryptocurrency. And then we realized that we, as an organization, as UNICEF, did not have a lot of easy tools to use in terms of letting our finance know how the money is moving, to let our donors know how the money is moving. And so our developer team basically started designing tools for our own use, but then we realized, any kind of organization, not only a UN agency, but any kind of charity or foundation or private sector company could use these tools. Of course, there's block explorers, but they're a bit complex to use. And so Juniper is a suite designed to easily understand digital assets. So that's one of our prototypes. We have several ongoing prototypes, but this is kind of like our main one that we're focused on right now. And lastly, learning. So of course, as I mentioned, it's really hard for a large organization to begin experimenting with blockchain if they don't know what blockchain is, if they don't know what cryptocurrency is. And so a lot of our work actually is kind of taking a step back and teaching our colleagues and other peers within the UN and beyond what blockchain technology is. And so our biggest learning platform that we created this year is the Atrium. So we created it with the World Food Program and the UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Program. But it's actually a blockchain-based learning platform for anyone within the UN to learn about blockchain, to share the projects that they're working on with regards to blockchain, and actually then have a forum to communicate about their blockchain interests. So many UN agencies also don't really communicate with one another. So we have lots of different blockchain pilots and experiments happening around the UN. There's over 100 UN agencies. UNICEF is just one. And so our team decided to create a tool where we could all come together and collaborate. And it's actually built on a blockchain. And so the more you participate, the more you earn blockchain-based badges. And our second iteration of the platform. The second iteration of the platform is going to include a platform for experimenting with smart contracts and bounties. And so really we're experimenting with learning by doing. So the Atrium is a way for people within the United Nations to learn about blockchain with really, hands-on. So in terms of how to learn more, there's some information. I know I kind of sped through, but I wanted to leave some time. I'm not sure if there's going to be a Q&A, but I wanted to leave some time if there's going to be a Q&A, but I'll pause my presentation for now and see if there's any engagement or feedback or any points that I should go back to. Thanks.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Bit Conf, 5th day of the Bit Conf. As I said before, I hope you join us tomorrow in our party. I would like to talk about
the party on the moon.
About the party of the moon, what we're going to do, yes, what you will experiment in the party, and also explain you how you will be able to play and win this 1K in BTCs.
In prizes that is distributed all over the party.
All over the place, you will be able to find, move things, try to find the clues, yes, and then you will need to solve them. Some are riddles, some are tasks that you need to accomplish. So it's fun to do, but remember that before playing or while you're playing, yes, you will need to register in seedpirates.com, which is a platform that allows you to put the 12 words of a seed.
Yes.
It's like an open game. Anyone who guesses the 12 words, and even if you have your cell phone, yes, you could try those words, and you will open the wallet that hosts the BTCs.
Yes, and just so all of you know where to go is seed, like in the seeds that you saw in the ground to make plants grow,
yeah, seed, like
or the seeds that you need to keep your wallet, your Bitcoin wallet.
That's seed.
And pirates, seedpirates.com. So because we are pirates, we are in the cyber sea, like looking for these clues,
actually,
trying to capture the treasure.
It's just like a pirate because you guess the seed and you steal the bitcoins.
Exactly.
That we give you the bitcoins. No, you steal the bitcoins.
And very important, exactly, very important, once you find the seeds, move the funds instantly, because another pirate can come and get your bounty, your treasure from you. So
Actually, there is a way. If you have a helmet, if you are in the computer, it's easy because you tab and you go to the next tab and you put the words in the platform. If you play with this, with the QS, for example, yes, you have a way to go back and put in without removing the helmet, write in the words and go back to the game. So to the world. So you will be able to play while you are in the world. Yes, it's a very nice experience. You will see huge signs with some of the clues. Some are hidden somewhere. So it's while we are dancing, while we're doing like this and like this and like this. Yes, and all your characters with this space suite or La Bitcoineta. Yes, you will be able. We think you will be able to play even with our transformer Bitcoineta.
Yes.
Yeah. While you're doing that, you can also try to guess this. But this is something else. Yes. You can get part of the coins by guessing first the 12 words. But the first one to guess each of the words, they also get a prize.
So, yeah.
Plus, every single word that you guess plays in a raffle for $250. So you guess three.
As soon as you get a word, go to Seed Pirates, and report that word. You will get one prize right there, and also participate in the raffle.
Raffle. So if you don't win if you don't open the chest, all your words will participate anyway in the raffle of 250. So enjoy it. Try to guess the ones you can. Yes, some of them need some history, some knowledge of past
of the history of Bitcoin.
The history. Some of them you need to scramble in your head to understand.
But it's also a very nice educational experience, no? Because you go learning. You can, of course, all the information is available on the internet. Some is harder to find, some is easier to find, but also in the process, you will learn a lot about crypto.
And the game itself, it's a learning tool. No, if you want to explain other ones, how difficult it is to guess to guess a seed and to steal your bitcoins. Yes, because I said my parents, no, it's 12 words. I say no, 12 words is easy, but 12 words into 1,048 chances in 12 different spots.
Exactly.
It's impossible. It's so impossible that we run this game sometimes for 1 week and no one guessing the 12 words.
Right words.
So this will be shorter. Yes, you will have the chance. You will be given some keys in once you put the word, you have a key. You will have 12 or 20 keys, I don't remember. And if you want, you can try to validate the word. It's not necessary. Yes, if you are the first one to put the word, it will tell you okay. But if you want to validate if that word is okay, you will need to use one of your keys. Once you finish your keys, you just need to try words, and if you put the 12 correct, you will get the prize, yes? But the keys are held, and if you play in pairs, you can do teams, you can team up and add the keys, or you just call your friend and say, hey, do you still have some key left? Yeah. So you try another word there, and you put it in yours.
I imagine that's to avoid brute forcing, no? So
It is to avoid brute forcing.
Yeah. So basically, you need to use your public key with any test you do with the words, with the seed words. So we avoid brute forcing. Brute forcing is a hacking technique where you try
it's not a
all the words.
Key.
Yeah.
It's a key. It's a
It's the key that the system provides.
Yeah, the key that the system provides. Bueno, so this is about the party. You will have fun stuff. If you have seen the video, you have dinosaurs, you have art, you have a movie, you have DJ. But actually, DJ live, we can do it for some reason. You will have music. You will be able to party there. You will be able to dance on the ¿Cómo se dice los parlantes?
On the speakers.
On the speakers, yes.
You can dance on the speakers. I don't know if you used to go dancing, but in the disco clubs, that's also very common.
You can climb the dinosaurs. You can, bueno.
The dinosaurs park is amazing. So you have to go there because you will understand the prehistory of money before Bitcoin appeared.
Exactly. Bueno, so we are almost ready for the rest of what's coming today. Yes, we're having a very interesting panel about how to raise funds for social projects. Yes, which platforms are helping different social projects that are trying to raise funds to help people in different ways. So we will have 4 platforms, and one of them actually is not a platform; is Binance Fund. Yes, we have I don't remember right now the name. Yes, but she's the leader of the Binance Fund, and she's the one to contact eventually if you want to raise support some project. We are right now discussing a project with them for Bitcoin Argentina, for example. Yes, helping around 20 soup kitchens. Yes, over 2,050 people. With driving them attention to what they do and getting funding for the rest.
And we were helping a kitchen for many times with the NGO.
Like
it's a continuation of that project, where we were helping a kitchen that was helping providing food for 400 people every day in a slum, in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires. So I think this is a continuation and expansion of that project.
So if you have these kind of projects, if you have any kind of project that you think is interesting to be supported, yes, don't hesitate also to talk with them or to any of the panelists that finally will have this, that at the end, what they do is helping to drive funding to the
And the interesting thing is that this is not charity. Is that what we were doing with the kitchen is more about building reputational profiles for the people who is already doing good things for society, impacting society, to build trust in their personas and in the organizations they are representing, to bring resources from people. So
yes, and that's the word actually, is to bring trust. No, sometimes when we donate money to certain organizations, you don't know finally what goes where.
Exactly. Yes? If the money really hits the ground and is really helping. Exactly.
And you don't know to whom, or if it's all overhead, or where it goes. In these cases, at least in the one we created together, yes, actually every single dollar that you put, you could trace it, where it was going and to whom it was going. There was no overhead, yes, and actually the benefit, the results from the project, yes, were, for supporting the development of the project, was from the ones that once those tokens were consumed, yes, the retail gave back to the NGO, an average, a percentage. So it was very, very interesting, but you could trace every single person and knowing what they were doing.
Human
side.
The human story, the human side of the people who is doing the social impact, and seeing where your funds, where your money is going, and how it's impacting the world in a transparent way. So
After the next talk, we will have a presentation. No, not here. In Spanish, we will have a presentation of Bitcoin Argentina, NGO, and they will be presenting this and other
these
projects
amazing.
also. Bueno, so we are very near to the next participants. Are them ready online? No, they're not ready yet.
Okay, so we can dance in
We
the meantime or
oh,
sing.
can we put music? No, we cannot. No? Music on stage?
We
Because
can have music.
People is telling me that the trumpet that they listen, the
But
funky sound.
one interesting thing, as you can figure out, on this 5th day, we already landed on the moon.
Ah,
No?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
sorry.
we are finally on the moon. We saw our journey. We were,
We were on Earth the first day trying to get the rocket ready.
rocket ready.
Second day
then
we were already flying. The third day,
flying. We were hovering around the Earth for a day as well.
yesterday we were inside the rocket.
Inside the rocket, and today we are in the moon. So we are on the moon, and of course we planted the the flag, the Bitcoin flag here. We thought that having a LED flag was actually, a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So there we are.
It's like a flag technology, and flag in the moon. It's like
Exactly.
It's Bitcoin, 100% Bitcoin. I hope you share our videos. I hope when we've done this, we didn't do this because of La BitConf. Yes, we didn't do this just for La BitConf. We thought it was something nice, a nice video to be shared by the community, like something valuable, like something that, whoa, I want to share this with someone else. So please do, once the BitConf is gone, please do share the video, share our content, because it's really nice and it's ATH
Yeah,
full
yeah,
way. No?
yeah. I think the quality of those videos, the educational value they have is amazing. So please share them. So we spread the word about these technologies, and I think we will keep doing more of those videos, no?
Yes,
Because
yes.
we like them so much that we will keep
And the
building
3D
content,
videos.
the 3D
also.
videos.
So the
yeah.
Grafia has worked for
Yes.
several years. Bueno,
So
we are set. We are going to move on to the next panel. Welcome, everybody.
Hello there. Hello, this is wonderful. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm sure that we have 3 different time zones that we need to cater to. I am delighted to be here, and I am more honored than anyone else to be in this panel. The best people that I can think of to represent this talks and these topics that we're going to engage into this panel. So funding and social impact. I think that we have plenty to talk about. We have the areas of NGOs, non-profit. We have businesses that are driven by purpose, right? We have incentives that we want to talk about and an alignment with these incentives. We have donations and the real value of donations and how we really need to see them. And then we have some philanthropic actions that we should perhaps recognize as well. And I think we have just the right mix here. So let's start. Not in a particular order, but in my window, I have Griff next to me. So I would love to introduce Griff. Hi, Griff from Common Stack.
Hey guys, I'm fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, my background, I have a master's degree in digital currencies. I'm basically a co-founder. I was part of Slockit and the DAO, so that was my mistake. Sorry, guys. And then there was Giveth that came out of that, and it's still a great project that has a couple donation platforms. We have DAppNode, which is a great way to run Bitcoin Lightning Network, Ethereum 2.0 nodes. It's like a one-stop It's a nonprofit because it just creates open source software that can go onto hardware. And then I also started the Common Stack, which is the goal of the Common Stack is to create economies around causes and give value to public goods because they deserve it. And right now I'm working on a project called Token Engineering Commons because I really believe that we're building public goods that deserve to be well engineered and designed so they don't hurt people when they're get into use. Thank
Excellent. You. So a piece of information, Griff and I were part of the founding team of Give-It. So it's great to have you. Now we have Gabi from Ethic Hub. Hello there.
Hello, I'm Gabriela Chang. I'm an industrial designer and I work for the Secretary of Economic Development in Mexico. So I'm quite familiar with the problems of the agro SMAs. I was an organic coffee producer, and I'm a co-founder and CSO of Ethic Hub, an impactful crowd lending platform based on smart contracts, of course, to connect smallholder farmers from emerging economies with international lenders and direct buyers, creating shared value for all of them. Thank you.
Excellent. And don't forget that Ethic Hub was one of the first awardees for the Blockchain for Humanity Awards back in 2017. That's something that we feel very proud of.
Wonderful starting point. Thank you.
Exactly. So thank you so much. Now we have Connie from BitGive.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Connie Galippi. I'm the founder and executive director of BitGive. We were established in 2013 and we're the first official Bitcoin and blockchain nonprofit. And we have been focused on really working with NGOs for over 7 years now to leverage this technology, cryptocurrency, blockchain for good. And we now have a donation platform called GiveTrack, which we have over 20 NGOs in, I think, 24 countries on our platform. Not just fundraising in cryptocurrency, but actually using the technology and moving the funds globally on the blockchain for transparency and efficiency.
So cool. Thank you, Connie. This is wonderful. And now, last but not least, we have Helen Hai from the foundation, from Binance Foundations. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Hi, Grace. It's my great pleasure to be on this panel. As you know, being one of the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, we're very in the heart of how to shaping the fourth industrial revolution, use blockchain to actually empower the global people. That's why we set up the foundation. And I've been working in development for the past 10 years. I'm still a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador. I'm so delighted in the past 3 years at the Binance platform to piloting how to use blockchain to support the bottom billion people.
That's wonderful. We are so happy to have you here, and we would love to understand a little bit more about what Binance Foundation is doing. So let's get started with some questions around nonprofits and value that they bring. So we actually had a little bit of a conversation backstage. We almost can say that we had our panel discussion already. So Griff, I know you had some really strong points that you wanted to bring up, and I know that Gabi had maybe some different views, so maybe we can have that conversation going here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the main idea is, hey, nonprofits have value. So why does everyone who contributes to a nonprofit have to sacrifice? Donors are giving money and they're just losing money by giving it to them. People who work for nonprofits generally have to take a pay cut compared to their actual worth. Everyone who supports nonprofit causes loses, at least in the financial game. Now we're winning on the like, oh, it feels good, you know, but it's crazy that there's a disconnect there, that our market economy and the way that we attribute value as a society just kind of forgets about the what I generally call public goods, which are non-excludable things like a river. It's hard to stop people from enjoying a river, or you know, having less homeless people, right? Everyone benefits. You can't exclude someone from that benefit of having a better society. So with blockchain technology, we have the ability to create economies. If you think of an economy like a game where you get points and points are money, right? If you contribute to nonprofits, sadly, you're losing the game. You're giving away your points. You're never going to get the high score. We got to create games where contributing to society in a beneficial way scores you points, you know? And that's what I'm working on with the Common Stack. And I think that's what most of us are working on, is trying to figure out how do we make it so people score points in a better place.
I think we have a good lineup for that regarding incentives, right? And aligning to this incentive. But Gabi had a different opinion on this. What was that?
Yeah. Yes, I think shared value generation is possible with blockchain. I think our current financial and then economic system is broken. It doesn't work. It has left out a quarter of the world population. So nobody can tell me it's working because 1 out of 4 is out. So what we're proposing is, because blockchain allows for it, is to reach massively for this excluded population by providing the incentives for the other players, for all the players to participate in this generation system. So what we do is to connect complementary economic regions to benefit, because mutual benefit is a stronger, I think it's the most powerful driver for financial inclusion, because the problem is massive. And don't take me wrong, of course, philanthropy and donations are wonderful, are great, but people donate when they have something extra to donate. But our point of view is that you can invest into helping others while helping yourself. There is this prejudice that helping must be, what's the word, sorry, must be altruistic. And it's not, it's not. You can help while helping you. And I think it's a stronger tool than the very good donations or philanthropy by itself. That's our idea. So we focus it on providing collateral to non-collateralized loans, because these people, which is at the base of the pyramid, it's not electable for the current system because they don't have the collateral to apply for the other solutions that are out there. And I think blockchain has the power. It's something massive to have these changes. So I don't propose to keep doing the same that we did before faster. I propose to do something new. And we are achieving it because after 2 years of working, we have a 0% default. So it's working, and we want to scale it to make more inclusive for both parts, lenders and farmers. Thank you.
That's a very good example of a purpose-driven business, right? So there isn't always has to be an altruistic motive, but it can be incorporated within your business model, right? And be able to profit and make money out of that. So a model is absolutely important. Now I see that we have two different things, and I want to go to the NGO side. So we talked about how we're creating economies, but then on the NGO side, we are certainly clear of the need to be able to relieve what we have there, right? There's a problem, there's a gap, and we're looking at solutions that can bring better solutions into the future. But today, we have to deal with these problems that we have at hand. And I think foundations such as BitGive and the Binance foundations are there to actually tackle the current situation. So can you give us some of your ideas and thoughts, Connie, on this one?
Sure. Yeah. So I think I appreciate the new and innovative ideas, of course, and I think that's also what we're doing, but in the sort of historical world of philanthropy. But I also want to say that I don't think we're losing when we give. I really don't. And even from a financial perspective, most countries, most regulatory environments have some way to incentivize that and for people to actually benefit from donating. Usually it's through tax benefits, but it is something that you can, as an individual, also benefit from typically. I mean, not everyone in society, like Gabriela was saying, has something to give, but I don't think people are losing when they give from that perspective, but also that, as I was saying backstage, it's an investment in our fellow human beings and in our environment and in our community. And that does also pay back and give back to individuals and the community as a whole. So to me, it's not a loss in any way. And it's more than just feeling good about it. It's actually investing in fellow human beings and your community and your environment. So, you know, what we do at BitGive is we're really focused on leveraging this technology, as you said, in the existing institutional systems and NGOs, but in a very cutting edge and very innovative way that we're still, I think we're still at that bleeding edge where there's a lot of adoption needed and a lot of education needed, even though we've been at this for many years. And so we're working with many NGOs on a global scale and talking with them and working with them directly on how to not just fundraise in cryptocurrency, but to use our platform, which is called GiveTrack, to improve the transfer of funds globally with better efficiency, faster transaction times, lower fees, higher security. But we also are really highlighting the transparency aspect. So you can see what happened to your donation. You can be connected to that impact in the way that you are supporting others in your community. And in theory, all of these things help to improve the effectiveness of philanthropy so that we actually move the needle on these issues in our culture, in our society, in our world today, instead of just sort of slowly chipping away at them and not necessarily getting anywhere.
That's excellent. Thank you, Connie. This brings me to the next topic as well. And Helen, I think that you are the right person to talk about this. You have been very active in making sure that you can put the relief fund in place for situations such as COVID, such as the Beirut Relief Fund. So these are, events that, unfortunately, people actually, will be very impacted by that. But if we give something to them, if we put something in this fund, I think we can alleviate a lot of these problems. Please tell us a little bit about your part of the business model there.
Sure, I would like to say three things. Number one, I think actually Binance has been committing about like 5 million during COVID. But actually, I think committing the finance is not something we're proud the most. We are very proud actually we are using blockchain technology while the world is dysfunctioning. Within less than 3 months time, we were able to support 25 countries using blockchain technology and then supporting people on masks, breathing machines. Everything's transparently recorded on the blockchain technology. Everything's transparent. The reason I'm saying that, I think it's all about implementation. Going back to the early discussion about NGO, in our opinion, whether it's a black cat or a white cat, as long as you catch the mouse, it's a good cat. I think actually the current situation about NGO is whether the existence of NGO, what exactly the problem they solve. Because if you look at the work from a more holistic perspective, there's the second industrial revolution, the third industrial revolution, and now we're in the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. It's about how we are going to shape the fourth industrial revolution using blockchain technology. But if we look at the history post-Second World War, since 1960 to 2008, globally, there's about 200 developing economies. But there's only 2 economies actually moved from lower income status to higher income status. That is South Korea and Taiwan. China likely to be the third one by 2030. Out of those 200, only 13 of them moved from middle income status to higher income status. Out of those 13, 8 of them are in Europe. The other 5 actually are in the Asia 4 tigers plus Japan. So if I looking at the post-Second War, our human history within those 60 years, actually the whole development model actually is a failure. The NGO didn't really support those countries on their economic transformation. For example, in Africa, in Latin America, millions of money has been spent. I think currently, why there's a need for blockchain, because there's a trust in the NGO system. And that's why I think now if we're really working using blockchain, we need to really make a successful examples instead just talking about big visions. So this is something I think for Binance we are very proud of is in the past 3 years, when we first set up the foundation, instead, talking about how great we are, we actually put down a team working in Africa, working with the African people, because we think internet, what happened with internet, it actually allowed the free transfer of information. Blockchain should allow free transfer of values. If we are thinking a world within 20 years, the world there's no border, we're able to free transfer of information, but then somebody have to build a basic infrastructure. So we actually went into Africa through actually building a transparent donation system. But in this process, we empower the bottom billion with crypto ID, crypto bank account. This actually is the basic thing to empower them with the basic crypto infrastructure in this whole society. I think this is something we're very proud. Actually, we were in a short scale, demonstrated quick success down there. And then the project has been actually evolving into supporting the first pin care token, which is the industry stable token project, impact token project. I think has been very, very well received by developing countries. So the thing actually I want to highlight is all about implementation, successful examples, instead just talking about big visions. And this is something for Binance we're really focusing on.
It is clearly a very good point. Implementation is everything. It's actual, it's tangible, it's what's here. And I think that's probably where really the benefits and the value that we're bringing is where it hits that tangible moment. So we talked about the technology and in the technology that we are all involved with, and blockchain specifically, how that technology is really bringing us the tools to make things better, right? We talked about how this is also part of creating incentive and alignments of incentives that we can put in place. And I think that it is important for us to understand where this fits the best. And we are already stated in this particular panel that we're looking at two views, right? The NGOs relief at the moment that it's happening, but also what are we creating towards the future to minimize those gaps, to minimize that inequality that we are dealing with. So who wants to talk about incentives and alignments of incentives?
I can always dive into that. It's on the Common Stack webpage. It's like realigning incentives around public goods. I think to really dive into it though, I want to start with governments. So, and NGOs are actually just the government relief, like there's very few like clean water charities in the United States, because clean water is generally provided by the government. But you go to Africa, you go to Venezuela, you go to these other countries, well, where the value is not coordinated effectively by the governments, then NGOs fill the gaps. And so when we're talking about aligning incentives, we really need to scope out a little bit, to step back and realize that it's not just for NGOs, it's also for governments. The fact is, when a bureaucrat makes a decision, right, they get if they make a good decision, they get their salary. They make a bad decision, they get their salary. That's not a good alignment of incentives for proper decision making. If a decision maker wins, then they should be rewarded. If they make a bad decision, they should be punished in effect, right? And so if we want to align incentives properly, we need to scope out and actually look at replacing governments with economies. I know there's a lot of crypto anarchists out there. Call me guilty, okay? And a lot of times we go with the libertarian philosophy. It's like, we don't need governments. I mean, that's a great story, and I agree that we can do better than governments, but governments are serving a purpose. So if we want to get rid of governments, then we need to find a way to do what the governments are doing better, 10x better, to replace the incumbents. So this is the NGO approach, because the NGOs and the governments, they're solving the same problems. They're just, NGOs do it from a grassroots approach. And so this is why NGOs are so great for the crypto movement, because they're the place where we can play. No government is going to come down on someone who's trying to help orphans, okay? They're not going to be like, that's a security. No, that doesn't happen, right? This is a very safe place where we can play with new economies that solve real problems for real people. And then eventually, I want to just sell it to the crypto anarchists. If we realign the incentives properly, then we can take away the actual services that governments provide, because they don't need to do it anymore. look, we created a public goods economy that builds all the roads because roads have value. So we created an economy that appreciates that value. And then we can actually, this is the replace, kill the government with 1,000 little cuts approach.
There you go. So talk about some incentives. Yes, please, Helen.
I actually like to elaborate on that. In my opinion, actually, I think it's too general just saying governments because there's a vast difference within different governments you are building with. That's why, but I want to share something. I think actually the world really need is successful examples. If you can find certain governments who's understanding the technology, who's willing to work with the NGOs to set up some successful examples, I think there's a big snowballing effect to really make the concrete success. And this is exactly on the ground we did. When CC, actually the founder of Binance, decided to set up the foundation, and then we think we want to help Africa, but the important thing is we need to know whether they're willing to accept our help. So we actually went on a tour in Africa. Something really touched both of our hearts is when we met the president of Uganda. He was 74 years old. Clearly, he's not technological savvy. When we talk about crypto blockchain, clearly he's understand only the very basics. But the thing is, even being a leader, we were able to go into some very deeper conversation. He go back to his old time of the bartering times, talking about his exchanging milk with chicken, why we actually need US dollars, going into some basic fundamentals about crypto. But after that deeper conversation, what happened is he looked at CZ and me and he said, you know what, my friend, today, African countries have a choice. We have a choice to decide our development path. We also have a choice to choose our partners. I think with what you call fourth industrial revolution, we should not become followers anymore. We should be in the fronting line. That's why I want you to come to my country, to work with my people, to develop a solution that will work for them. That's actually why Binance chose the first landing ground in Africa, in Uganda, because actually the leader has at least the willingness to work with us. So that is something I don't want to generalize governments. I don't think, I think there's a clearly information asymmetry between the government's intelligence with actually the pioneering companies. But it's important to finding the leaders and then building some successful examples and to snowballing from there.
That's an excellent example. And I think this is something that we need to talk about more. We always kind of focus on the negative and we understand, the difficulties around and challenges around certain governments, but we really don't bring to the light the ones that are actually trying to transform this. And I think that companies like Binance are at positioning, at extremely important positioning there to be able to help that transition, right? So that's really excellent. So I think you wanted to say something as well on incentive, Gabi or Kani. Yeah.
I liked very much what Helen just said about Africa and this government, because when you're trying to help, I like this sentence I've heard in another forum about sustainability. Solution is nothing about us without us. You cannot pretend to come around with a solution without taking in consideration the people in problem, because it's from their perspective that we have to solve the problems. So I think it's very bright that if Helen Finance goes to the government and presents them with the value of the proposal, so for them to understand it from their perspective, not our solution from our European or North American point of view, because it's a different reality. And I think if the technology is about aligning incentives, it is blockchain. It is in its core. That's why Bitcoin works so perfectly, because all the aligned incentives. So we have to, this is the model, and this is the model we have to follow. So in EthiHub, what we do is to align these incentives, because it's beautiful to have a project with purpose. But we don't have to be as naive as to think everybody's going to be good and put his part. Of course not. We're humans, and we have to be realistic about how some humans behave. To say something like governments, not all governments are equal, are the same with human beings. So by building these incentive loops, we create a system where every part of the ecosystem provides value because it's the best for himself or herself. So that's how we align these incentives. And I think that's like the root to make it. And I think the evolving mentality of funds or philanthropy, it's getting closer to that of impact investing. What Connie said is like, we are investing in people. So that's a very important shift that is happening right now. And it's a beautiful align with blockchain because it will make it further and faster. This perception of not donating that is going to be lost, but investing into something that will have a revenue. But I think the important point here is to not consider capital just as monetary, because there is social and environmental capital. And then the revenues are not only monetary, but also environmental and social. And I think this holistic approach is what is going to shift the road. Because right now, when we talk about being for profit, it's like reject some people that is too radical about what's helping, what's generating impact. And it's a change of mentality, a paradigm that is coming in the hand of this impact investing point of view to develop and to create value, taking value for yourself. What we said as an impact business is that we create more benefit, more value than the one we extract. But it's not opposed. It's all linked. Well, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. I think that that you have brought up a few points that I would like to throw in there. But first of all, I'd like to ask Connie whether she wanted to add something on this particular topic of the incentives.
Yeah, thank you. I did actually, because I was thinking when Helen was talking about approaching governments, that it's similar to what we're doing, but with NGOs, because you have to bring them along, and not everyone's willing, that's for sure. But if you reach out to the like us for NGOs, and talk with them about this technology, what the incentives are for them, and educate them about it and why they should care and why they should try it and what it can do for them and the causes they're trying to solve in the places they are in the world. It's all very critical and important work to be done, because if there isn't that work and there isn't that adoption, then we won't get anywhere with actually implementing this technology across different communities, countries, populations, governments, and NGOs. And I think it's really critical. And like Helen was saying, there are certain NGOs similar to governments that are really excited about this and willing to embrace this and want to be at the cutting edge. And that's not often with NGOs that they want to be at the cutting edge of technology, typically because they're very risk averse, they're very conservative, they don't have a lot of resources to take chances with. And so the ones that are willing to embrace this technology, I feel like we need to just embrace them and support them and show them that, we're welcoming them, and we're happy that they're, willing to try something new and different. It's really important.
I think that's an amazing way to get started on the next topic. But I wanted to just pause for 2 minutes and kind of recap on this. It is important that to the objectives that we want to meet. But I think that essentially it's a mindset, right? That we're trying to kind of adjust and be able to understand where value is, and how that value needs to be shared, and how value needs to be created. But it's still, at the end of all this, it's still a mindset, right? How do we do this? That's why we talked about businesses and bringing purpose. Like, for example, Binance as a business without the foundation itself is actually also meeting some of the targets by doubling the donation. I think that's one of the business models that they have used, right? And we're talking about businesses like in the case of Ethic Hub that is using kind of this decentralized finance type of approach to be able to engage in borrowing and lending in a way that would not be possible for any of these farmers to reach out to or to have access to, right? So I mean, we're talking about, there's a lot of value creation here that it's not being perhaps recognized or even aligned in terms of the definition. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, and then I wanted to just say that the Blockchain for Humanity Awards were announced last night. And one of the things that that was really remarkable for me specifically, we had 6 awards, 3 for dreamers and 3 for shapers. And out of the 6 awards, 5 of them are building economies. That's amazing, right? So 5 projects are, specifically looking into building some local economies, encouraging local economies to grow, and example of, for example, Bitcoin Beach, right? In El Salvador, they have created in a small town that exchange between Bitcoin and the local, in exchange for goods. So I just want to say that we are far more advanced than we probably sometimes talk about. I think we are, quite out there, and still the gap is huge, and we have the Sustainable Development Goals, objectives for 2030. We still have a long way to achieve this, but I think that there is a good conversation going on here. So in terms of bringing that mindset into what it needs to be, in being able to continue building on our progress, on our successes. What do you think from each one of you? I would love to hear, building on your success, what's your next step?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's my turn. So I couldn't agree more with what Helen was saying about actually having tangible success, and also not going into Africa and telling them how to solve their own problems. And this is something I learned the hard way by running with Grace, by doing Giveth for 3 years. And I'm sure Connie's seen it too, where it's like, I want these nonprofit people to start using this technology. And it's like, let me explain how mining works, right? And it's so difficult because that's not what they want to do. They want to solve their problem. So like Helen said, we need to show them how they can solve their problem. And the common stack approach for like this iterative development is to create something that we do know. The common stack is full of token engineers, and token engineering is a very young science. Let me just define it for you. Like let's I know I only got like 30 seconds left. So, but if you're building a bridge and you go to Home Depot and you just build the bridge, it's probably not safe to drive on, right? If you create a token and you just write a white paper and then you start coding, it's probably also not a safe economy. It's really nice to actually do design validation, describe what you're doing and validate that it can work. And I'm in this crew with token engineers, and it's very difficult to get good information. We need an academy. We need resources for people to use. And all those resources are closed source right now. It's like a secret information. So this is a public good that I'm a part of, and we can build an economy around. And once we build this economy, and if it works, then other people can see, oh, I want that. And then they can copy our code and copy our culture that we build on top of the economy, because it's socioeconomic systems, and then try to do it themselves.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you. So we have a few minutes, like maybe 2 minutes for each. Let's go. Who wants to go? Helen.
Okay, I want to say 3 things. Number 1, I think being very down to earth, being very practical, and also building successful examples. Why is that? Because we have to recognize currently blockchain technology is still technology looking for applications. It's very much like in the 90s. We have no idea in the 90s thinking about the iPhone we've got today. So what actually the technology can develop, nobody knows. We need to be very practical. Today, actually, what can really be used in charity, I think it's only the transparent, trackable feature. So actually, that is something we built on the ground, to building a transparent, trackable, system using blockchain technology. So when you communicate with multi-stakeholders, I think it's very dangerous. You're just talking about some fancy things because you lost the trust. It's very important to build something concretely and then build up your credit. And that's why I think successful on the ground, getting hands dirty example is the most powerful thing to making the real revolution.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Connie? Or
I would love to follow on that, because that's also what we're working on and have been working on from the beginning is real, this is very innovative technology, but in order for people to understand it and benefit from it, you have to have real projects with real people and real results on the ground. And we've always been, there's a lot of, startups in this space that, raise millions of dollars and then never even deliver a product, let alone the results of that product. And we've always said from day one, we're a nonprofit and we have a mission that's about impact, and we need to have that impact today and every day in addition to innovating with this technology. So it's been very challenging to do that, but I think it's the only way you actually demonstrate that it's possible and that it's real and that you educate people along the way. We've always had nonprofits that, as Helen has said several times, are in the community, working with the community, are part of the community. We're not coming in as, white people from the US who think they know about technology. Like, it's about partnering with nonprofits that are already embedded in that community and in that environment and who actually know what they're doing to make a difference on the ground. And we're helping them explore this technology to empower them and have a higher impact than they have today.
That's the way to do it.
As a startup, we need to build credibility from zero. And now, after almost 3 years with hands-on solving the problem, we contribute to 9 SDGs, but we are focused mainly on poverty and inequalities, on solving them. So after 2 years with our crowd lending platform on blockchain, we have a 0% default. And then we are launching our impact token, because we need first to build this credibility we already have. The Inter-American Development Bank supported us because they saw the code, they saw the people and what we are achieving even in this scale. So for scaling up, this is the focus, a token that would capture the impact, but also would provide governance, because what we want to do with Etihub is to be handled by the users, but this is only possible with blockchain. I think we have waited for the right timing to put all the pieces together to build the stack higher but stronger, and a strong base is important, and that's credibility. And what can provide more credibility than the transparency and traceability of blockchain? So that's why we are here, and from here we want to go far and away with creating impact with all the community.
To the moon.
To the moon.
And I know that personally, I know that Ethic Hub has always built on that credibility, because you have tested, you have validated, you have gone further. I mean, it has been already a long process, but it has given you all the pieces that you have necessary to be where you are. And I know that you are specifically focusing on that poverty trap. I remember you explaining it, right? So can you say something on the poverty trap? I love that.
Yes. Well, the impact token we are launching now, 23rd December, so we are accelerated, and this will further improve the breaking of this poverty trap. When farmers, remember, this quarter of the world population, most of them are small farmers, so they are trapped in this circle because they don't have access to enough resources to make the most out of their tiny lands. The money is so expensive and so scarce that they practically work to pay back the debt and cover very basic needs. So what we do by providing affordable funding is that they can very easily break this circle and then increase productivity to get the income necessary to pay back the debt and to grow and to be able to think in a future, to plan a future, because you will increase your income. That's our mission, to improve the living standards of the smallholder farmers in the world.
That's great. I love that the power of acquisition gets stronger. And I know for a fact that that's the way that we're going to break that cycle that we talked about. Thank you so much. Well, so we do have a few minutes left, and I thought that after Griff was giving us his thoughts, we were not going to be able to make the time. But actually, I don't have another question to ask, but I do want to know from you, what is the next big thing happening in our community, in our ecosystem? What's the next big thing? What do you think?
I can say, I think you asked us this before, and I was I didn't answer what's next for us either. And so for us, it's actually about scaling what we've started, because we've already spent like 7, almost 8 years now building the relationships and this platform and doing pilots and having different countries and all kinds of different things to learn from. So for us, the next thing is to scale. We really want to engage many more NGOs all over the world. We also would like to develop a white label and a gray label version of GiveTrack so that it can actually be adopted by not just NGOs, but other business models that could benefit from transparency platform. And I think from an industry perspective and social impact, what's next? I feel like there's so many exciting things, and it has only been for maybe a few years that social impact has actually been a focus in the industry, and it's actually getting much better now, I think. So I'm actually really excited to see now that it's maturing what will come next, but I think there's a lot of very exciting things in climate change and identity, all kinds of things.
I think the next big thing is lots of little things. Lots of small things. We have new techniques like token bonding curves that solve the liquidity problems for small economies, Uniswap pools, and these things that can provide value for tokens that normally couldn't find value. And so I think we'll see a lot of really small, awesome projects solving very focused niche needs, and that will have a lot of impact.
Excellent. What else?
I think the next big thing I want to highlight, which is still about implementation.
Absolutely. The next big thing for you, Gabby?
I
Implementation.
think we're living the wave of sustainability. So everything is timing up with us. We are aligning everything to reach there on time, hopefully.
Excellent. This is, it's good timing. This has been an amazing panel. I cannot be more proud to be here, and thank you for making yourself available. I really appreciate this. We love to hear from all of you. I think we should do more panels like this. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. Bye-bye. Thank you for your time.
Hello, hello everybody. Very nice having you here, and for this panel about, I think, the main topic on this panel is about human rights defense and how the organizations that have been, fighting for human rights defense over the years see the potential of blockchain, Bitcoin, and all these new technologies. I mean, because I think in the recent years, we have seen in the crypto space or in the blockchain space, a lot of projects that maybe think that technology is enough to change the things. And I think, those on the ground, those on the territory actually doing the fight for many, many years, understand that fighting for these rights or protecting the human rights is much tougher than technology. So I think, I always say I'm not a techno-optimist. I think technology is an innovation tool, and of course it changed the landscape of human beings, but it's us human beings that give a direction to technology and can put it to the service of society or not. So before getting deep into this, I would love to get a brief introduction of each one of you. Maybe we can start with you, Janine, then we will move to the other panelists.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. My name is Janice Vaca. I work at the Human Rights Foundation. We are a human rights organization, a nonprofit that is based in New York, but we have people working in different parts of the world, and we partner with activists that have been using blockchain, so I'm very excited to tell you about that.
Javier, do you want to?
Hi, everyone. My name is Javier Pariero. I am an Argentinian, saying hi to you from Cordoba, Argentina, and I work as the Global Policy Director at Access Now, an international organization that defends and extends the digital rights of users at risk.
And our last panelist, very well-known good friend of mine.
Good. I'm Federico Ast. I am CEO at Kleros.
I think your sound is coming a little bit low.
Okay.
Maybe.
Can you hear me now? Are you okay? It was working in the previous room.
Now it's much better.
Okay. So I'm Federico Ast. I am CEO at Kleros, and well, what we do at the company is that we use blockchain to transform justice systems and to make dispute resolution, and this can help to the goal of more justice inclusion in different societies.
Thank you, Fede. So, and I think one of the key elements I think in these technologies bring is the ability to self-organize. So I think your topic, what you are building, like having a self-organized way of resolving our disputes, is a great example of that. So, going to the point, so maybe the first question is like, for those who are doing the work on the ground to actually fight for human rights, I mean, what are the main difficulties you find? I mean, what are the main difficulties you find? I don't know, please share it openly from financial perspective, operational perspectives. Like, what are the challenges you face regardless of the technology? What are the challenges that you face? Maybe, Javier, you can start. And so I will go shuffling you around so you all speak. So. Okay, great. So I think I'm brought here to be like the dissenting voice in the use of blockchain in terms of work, because in the experience that I've had and in the work that we do as an international human rights organization, we actually don't use it so much. We have known of experiences of usage of blockchain technologies to extend the digital rights of users, to help with the documentation of certain issues that require documentation, such as human rights violations and issues of the sorts. I think that there is a huge potential to implement and to help bring more of these technologies into specific areas of work, like, for example, the enforcement of data protection rights, the documentation of
content moderation decisions by big platforms, for example, and how those takedowns are preserved for cases, for example, where they can serve as evidence for human rights violations, and several other examples that we can get there. But honestly, I think that the main challenge there is lack of communication between the more technical community working on blockchain-related technologies and other activists, right? This is often sometimes related maybe to the way in which blockchain is so associated to Bitcoin, and the way in which this is seen as an economic or speculation issue, right? Maybe also probably has to do with the environmental impact that sometimes is criticized about the way in which blockchain works. But I think that some of those issues and the lack of communication between communities is one of the main challenges that I can see in the work.
What about because maybe, sorry, I was not clear. It was not about the challenges with blockchain, but the challenges your organization face, like outside blockchain, like in general. What are the main, blockers you have to do your activity, or what are the, yes?
Where to start? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. We have two big sets of challenges. One of them has to do with companies and the lack of transparency and lack of engagement that they have. I'm talking about really big companies where they call often like big tech, right? And the way in which they engage with their products and their customers and users, just in the way in which their decisions can affect their rights, especially on data protection and freedom of expression. On the other side, another big challenge for us is governments. The main violators of human rights are still governments around the world. Companies are increasingly getting there into some very bad practices, but number one concern that we have in several places of the world where we work is governments and their actions.
So excellent. So one of the challenges is, like, as you say, about protecting the organizations fighting for these rights, and because you are fighting, I would say, like big forces of society, it's governments, corporations, and so that's one thing. You also mentioned in your previous words about like having reliable sources of data, that data that cannot be manipulated or deleted. So I think the blockchain can provide a good tool there. So Janine, what you would say on your side? We had Alex Gladstein, sharing more about your organization, but I think it's purposeful for the people listening to us or seeing us. What are the stoppers that the Human Rights Foundation is facing more deeply?
Well, I think it's very important to explain. I actually run this program in the Human Rights Foundation. It's called the Freedom Fellowship. So we collaborate with activists that are actually fighting for democracy and human rights in different dictatorships or authoritarian regimes around the world. So looking at the challenges that they constantly face and the experience of our fellows themselves, I think two things that come to mind as to what are the main obstacles are, number one, privacy, and number two, finance. I think in terms of privacy, we've often seen, and this has happened not only to Freedom Fellows of HRF, but people within our community, that hacking their accounts, using their personal information, making it public, sharing things that are personal from their personal chats, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, etc., is something that happens often. So that is one main challenge that we still need to face, because there are amazing organizations like Access Now, and they're here present today, that can give help to these activists when these things happens. But what happens is, when you live under an authoritarian regime, it is rare that you have the chance to go to international conferences and meet people who can help you with these challenges. So often the activists are battling with these attacks, with this internet media attacks on their own. And then the second thing, and I think this is somewhere where blockchain can be extremely useful, and we have seen it being useful in our experience, is that more than not, the organizations, the civil society organizations from which these activists are working, are not recognized as legal in their countries. And this makes it extremely impossible for them to apply to grants, to get funding from NGOs within and outside of their countries. And more than not, we've seen this with activists in our community as well, their bank accounts are frozen. So that makes it very difficult for them to even move their own personal money, not even thinking about the money they usually use for their human rights projects. So it's very difficult to get around those things. I think with blockchain, we've had good experiences of how we can get around those obstacles, but they are very important. And I think spaces like this one are super important to make activists feel connected to people that can actually help them with these challenges.
So I think that, take us, I think you raised amazing points that clearly, I think, Bitcoin was built with that goal of having sovereign finance or being sovereign about the economy, and then the blockchain, protocols built afterwards, like Ethereum and others, have extended capabilities to solve other problems like identity. There's also a lot of work on sovereign identity, self-sovereign identity in Bitcoin, Ethereum, RSK. Different protocols are like working heavily on that, and I think that raises also like a big topic for society in general, because people is not very conscious. Of course, in the extreme environments you were mentioning, like protecting your privacy is a life or death situation in many cases. So it's clear why privacy is important in those contexts. But I think we have been giving away our privacy for many years, I would say for more than a decade, without even thinking on the consequences of that. No? So I think like that's another thing that maybe in the crypto world, in the cyberpunk philosophy behind all these models we have been building, this concept of protecting your privacy, and that protecting or caring about your privacy is not a crime. It's something we have in our DNA, but it's not commonplace among the population. So I think we have identified at least three interesting things. So privacy protection, then of course funding, and I think WikiLeaks was a great example. No, the credit cards, the main credit cards shut down WikiLeaks funding, and thanks to Bitcoin, WikiLeaks I think not only managed to keep going, but got stronger. No, so I would say, given that we have a top expert among us, like is Fede. Fede, can you tell us like a little bit of how do you think, and also Javier was mentioning about governance, no? So can you share a little bit of how these technologies can help, on the privacy protection, identity management, on the funding, censorship resistance, and on the governance things? What are these technologies bringing to the table?
Well, at Kleros, we work very closely with the people who are from Venezuela, for example, and from different parts of Africa, where basically they are having problems with their bank accounts. They are frozen. They have problems with, of course, being persecuted by government agents. And in a way, the centralized digital world is going to kind of, if you want, Chinese Communist Party situation where you have this huge big entity which controls everyone's identity, everyone's bank account, everything. And like if you for some reason happen to disagree with what the government or the authority wants to do, so like they just switch you off the system and you are like done, right? So we have the extreme version of this in China, for example, but also there are like Western versions of this, like Facebook, for example. So this we have not maybe taken enough, or what we are just taking right now, awareness of how powerful these organizations are and how impactful they are on our rights to everything. I always say that Facebook is it's more like a state than a company. It's like a big virtual state that controls our identity. They make the rules where all the users interact. They also have a justice system. If you violate, if they say you violate the terms and conditions of the service, and they can like just kick you out of the platform and they exile you. So I think that we are just now starting to realize that we are living in this, if you want, absolute monarchies, that is the centralized internet. And we, myself at Kleros, but also many other people like, Santi, Syria, Democracy Earth, or lots of people are scared building this type of projects. We are building the governance infrastructure for the next generation of the internet. And the next generation of the internet is the next generation of the world, because the world is going to be digital. So we need to get this right, because if we get the governance wrong, then we end up in a quite high risk of ending in the kind of gamified China Communist Party system controlling every aspect of our lives.
So we can say that, well, that was mentioned, but we are not protecting these rights only from governments. We have a new kind of ruler, or there are corporations, big corporations that also have been controlling more and more of the internet. No, I think the internet was born, or the web was born with a decentralized spirit, or at least that was what we wanted. Those who were part of the early days of the web, we wanted that decentralization spirit to grow and build. But now we see centralization emerge as a pattern, and I think you're right, Fede. I think blockchain is the foundations for a peer-to-peer, regaining the internet control and creating peer-to-peer protocols. So, but how is access now? Because I think you are activist, no? So you actually do a lot of things. So what are you doing, to protect these rights, or to help the internet stay decentralized, stay open, and to the service of individuals?
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, we have several arms that work on that issue. We have a policy arm that puts together the main points of thinking that are going to inform our actions. We have an advocacy arm that does campaigns and engages lawmakers and puts together resources to generate change. We also have a digital security helpline, which is more on the reactive side, where we provide 24/7 support to activists who have high security risks in terms of digital security. So that's very interesting. We had 10,000 cases only on 2020 about people wanting to get help about this. No, sorry, 10,000 cases historically since we founded the helpline of people trying to get help on this front on different places of the world. So this is a very interesting question. I think that there is a reactive element, which is to try to resist legislation and policies that aim at destroying the capabilities of users or exerting control of their own information and of their own experience. One of them, for example, is resisting attempts at breaking encryption that from time to time come back, with these statements from the Five Eyes governments that from time to time get repeated, like saying we're going dark, encryption is a threat for security or to catching the bad guys, and they always bring the what Assange, I think if I'm not mistaken, used to call the apocalypse horsemen, right? Like terrorism or child porn or drug trafficking and so on. So it's the same thing there. I'm not saying that these are not important and very serious issues and that there are real challenges around getting those fixed in terms of technology, but they sometimes are used as scapegoats to try to get all kinds of secure encryption and end-to-end encryption banned, or to try to get backdoors there. This is the old, very, very old battle that we are fighting. And on the other side, on the side of what Federico said about big companies and how some of these practices have to do, well, we engage a lot on content moderation, content governance. We are now engaging on the Digital Services Act, a legislation in the European Union that aims at putting some regulation over online information gatekeepers, right? To make them accountable about their content moderation practices, to try to get more transparency, more control over what they do. And ideally, through competition law, we can also probably try to address the issue of the concentration, which is, again, as Federico said, something that is actually subverting the very nature of the internet, which is decentralization and interoperability.
Excellent, excellent. Indeed, in the late 90s, I was part of the web, and there was a ban for cryptography exports from the US. So there was a big fight, and DGB, a great cryptographer, did the fight and won. And thanks to that, we have, cryptography has exploded outside. But, as you say, these are waves that keep coming to block the use of tools that actually what cryptography does is like protects the little guy and little girl, the little girl and the little guy, because it's basically, you know, what it does is like provides tools that have asymmetric powers, that defending yourself require much less energy or resources than attacking. So that asymmetry between the attacking effort and the defense effort is what creates, you know, turns cryptography into a tool of defense of the individuals versus the big power. So when they are attacking cryptography, they are not attacking a mathematical model or a piece of software. They are attacking every individual's right. So, but we need to create, and I think what you mentioned is like you are doing a lot of work on advocacy, on educating people. I mean, of course, you have the defensive part, but also you have this part where you create this awareness, this conscious. So that's great. And Janice, I know you mentioned you are part of the Freedom Fellowship, and you do also like very specific actions, no, to help and protect human rights. So can you share a little bit of what you do as well, so people know what you are doing in these directions?
Yeah, of course. So essentially my specialization is nonviolence, and I work at the Human Rights Foundation running the Freedom Fellowship program, which is a one-year program that supports activists that are working in defense of human rights and democracy in authoritarian regimes. And at the same time, on my free time, I do a lot of activism myself. So it's been really interesting what you have all been discussing, how technology can be used in a constructive or destructive way. It depends on what we do with it. And in that sense, I think it's also really important, and this is something that we try to do with the Freedom Fellowship, where we teach the fellows, for example, how to use cryptocurrency. And at the same time, in the Also Freedom Forum events, we have events where we gather activists from all around the world. We try to expose them to the newest advances in technology so that they can make a better use of it in behalf of their causes. But the problem lies, and I think this is where, again, spaces like this are super important, that most activists, and I can give an example of myself, I do a lot of activism in my country, in Bolivia, where cryptocurrency, by the way, is not legal, don't have the opportunity to talk directly with the people behind the technology that are developing the technology, to explain to them how this can be useful for human rights, but also how can this be harmful for human rights. So it's very rare that you see organizations like the Human Rights Foundation, where, for example, we have the Belarus Solidarity Fund, in which we use big cryptocurrency in order to help activists that are working in Belarus. But usually these spaces don't really exist as much. So it's very important that we continue to expose and to explain to people that if you are working on new technology, new developments, and not just on technology, in any area of human work, you have to bear in mind the consequences that this work can have, positive and negative, to people that are now living under authoritarian regimes, because those people do exist. It's 4.2 billion of people on Earth. And usually a lot of people living in the free world don't really think about them.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Janice. I think it's awesome. I think, you know, how do you think, you know, from a financing perspective, I think Bitcoin already did, and then all the cryptocurrencies that are in existence already did a great job, you know, and it's a constant work, no, to provide more privacy, to provide, like, to protect in the transactional environment, no, of like, it's already brought a tool to, you know, to avoid or overcome the blockages. But I think there are, the other two topics are identity and governance. So, Fede, how do you think these technologies can help the identity protection or the privacy protection of people? I mean, maybe in more concrete ways. So it's like, what are the models out there for privacy protection on the identities?
Yeah, so the thing now is that identity is like fractured into different silos, if you want. Traditionally, you know, people's identity was recorded by who? By the church, right? That they were those who recorded birth and death and marriages, and then so we had the nation states taking that role. And now, after that, in the late like 10 years and 15 years, so more about our identity. Like, yeah, the internet companies, Facebook knows everything about us. They know who we are, where we are, who our friends are, where we travel, so everything. And like if we want to leave Facebook because we are fed with it, but we lose all of our identity because we can't take our reputation and all of our network to some other place. We just either we stay at Facebook in their network with their rules, or we have to go like live alone in the mountains without being connected to anyone. And this is true not just Facebook. I always take Facebook because yeah, everyone likes to hit Facebook, but also Google and all the big companies. The thing is that self-sovereign identity would mean that like any of us having like a little like black box that we own, and with all of our information there that we can share with whoever we want. Like I have my biometry there, my residence, my reputation as a driver, my reputation as a writer, as a whatever. And then this is a cryptographically secure box, and I can share only parts of that with whoever I want. And I am the only one who owns this thing, right? So let's say I want to go into a bar and they will ask me, oh, are you over 21? So now you have to show them your ID, and then they know your age, of course, but they also know where you live, they know your photo, So if I have this identity in my phone, my centralized identity app, I could like only share my age and not having the other guy know everything about me, right? So this is very important. And also, yeah.
So in a way, what you're saying is like with these technologies, we can regain control of our data, but not only that, but also choose what to share, which is not the case today. We are sharing like monolithic part of information, and that takes me to another thing that I think is key in these technologies, that is, we need to have multiple personas. The identity is a social construct. It's not, one part is I state saying who I am and where I was born, who my fathers are. That's one thing, but identity is a social event. It's like the building of interactions with others that build who I am, and I can choose to share a part of those interactions with some group of people and other parts of those interactions with other group of people. And that's also, and you mentioned something that is very important, is the physical, like biometric information. Who I am on a physical level should be protected to the maximum possible, because I think that's when your vital, your life is at stake. So I think if we start creating these pseudonymous or multiple personas that we use to interact in different environments, and we protect our physical persona, then we have a model that can help in the environments, in the harsh environments that were mentioned before. So we have, these new technologies can provide tools for funding, can provide tools to create a better identity model, a privacy-protecting identity model, and to protect the information. And I think Javier already stepped into the final thoughts, or it's like why this is not like, meeting. The needs are clear on one side. The technology has the potential to solve most of the needs that you were mentioning on the activist realm. Why both worlds are not meeting, or why we are not seeing more and more of this technology being used in the context of human rights protection?
As I said before, maybe it has to do with an issue of lack of communication with the more technical activists that are following the development of blockchain-based technologies. But there's also this perception, right? This idea that there is a high environmental impact, that there is questions about the scalability, that there's questions about the technical elements and how they could be translated into usable, easy to understand and to use technologies and stuff like that. I see a lot of potential for this, but again, as I see, there's this perception, these ideas of the negative sides of it. And on the other side, maybe the lack of communication with the activists that work on it. So maybe that can sort out the issues.
Excellent. So we in the crypto space need to work on create a better perception on the activist world of these environments and these technologies. Janine, your thoughts on why these two worlds are not meeting enough, or finding each other enough?
I think it depends a lot on which context you're looking at it, because in the case of activists that work in competitive authoritarian countries, or even activists that are working in democracies themselves, it's a lot about what Javier is mentioning, about education, about making this easier to understand for people that are outside this realm. And then when you think about activists that are working in closed societies and more dictatorships, difficult environments, you have to understand that something as simple as access to the internet is virtually impossible for people in Eritrea, for example, or in North Korea. So it's going to be, there are other factors that make it difficult for them to even access the most basic needs to make this kind of technology work. And in that sense, I don't think it's something that cannot be closed. I think this gap can also be worked on, and we are trying to work on it from different angles. But again, I think the simply listening more to activists, listening to the people that are on the first line and what the challenges they are living through are, would be a great first step to start closing this gap. So communication, again, and education comes to be the main ingredient that seems to be missing.
Amazing. Hopefully these talks and having Alex on La Bit Conf is the first step for those channels to keep, being more frequent, more fluid. And from from an industry perspective, Fede, what do you think? I mean, do you agree with it's all about communication? Do you think there's other things that need to happen for this technology to be at the service of human rights groups and organizations?
I agree with what they say. I think that we should have in mind that new technology have diffusion curves and they take time to become mainstream. Like the World Wide Web was born, I think, in 1990 with the paper of Tim Berners-Lee. But like the internet as a consumer big phenomena, it didn't take off until like more or less mid or late 90s, right? So Satoshi Nakamoto published the paper in 2008. Ethereum and all these new smart contract platforms, of course, as RSK, and I'm a huge fan of what you build. This is very new, and it takes time for people to understand, for people to see the use cases. But I think that when this starts to take off, it's going to be so exponential and so fast that it's going to be hard for like the latecomers to catch up. Because as I think it was Richard Buckminster Fuller that said that you don't fight the existing order by fighting it, you fight it by building something that makes it obsolete. So I think that's what we are doing, and over time this is going to be clear for everyone, I think.
Amazing. So you think it's part of the evolutionary process, but the conditions over time will improve and this connection will stay. And as Janice also stated, there are other technological things that need to be solved as well if we want to use these tools like, around the globe in all conditions. So I think we ran out of time, but I think we presented the problem, the opportunity as well, and hopefully this conversation is will trigger more and more conversations, and we'll see maybe in the next La Bit Conf a year from now we'll see interesting use cases of this technology for the human rights defense and fight. So thank you all for your time and for sharing your thoughts. It was very pleasant, and see you all. Keep enjoying La Bit Conf.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about you?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Connie Galippi, I'm the founder of BitGive, and I have the distinct and wonderful honor and pleasure today of moderating this panel on social impact projects. Some of my most favorite people in the world, and not just this industry, are here today, and we're supposed to be here today. And so I'm very, very excited. So first I'll introduce our panelists, and then I'll actually have them tell you more about their work. And then we have a number of questions that we'll get into today so you can learn much more about them. So first we have Anita Posch, who's here from Austria. She is the founder of the Bitcoin and Company podcast. She's also an educator and a solopreneur and an advocate in the space. We have Fareshta Farrow, who is the founder and executive director of Code to Inspire, which is a nonprofit that started a coding school for girls and young women in Herat, Afghanistan. One of my absolute favorite projects, like of all time. Not to show favoritism, sorry, but have to. And then we have Marco, who is here he's the co-founder of Impact Market. He also won the distinct honor of 30 under 30 in Forbes back in 2016 and has some other projects that he's working on as well. And then unfortunately, we were expecting to have Alakanani Itirling here today from Botswana. She is the founder of the Satoshi Center in Gaborone, and she has been an advocate for Bitcoin in not just Botswana, but across Africa since 2013. Unfortunately, she's not able to make it today. We're having some technical difficulties. So Anita and I know her and her work. We'll try to bring as much as we can of that into the discussion today. So Anita, I'll have you begin and just share a little more about you and your work. And then maybe as you do that, if you could include how you're leveraging blockchain and cryptocurrency for social good.
Okay, great. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, as you said, I'm a Bitcoin podcaster, and also I'm a member of the board of a non-profit organization in Austria called Bitcoin Austria, and we're doing informational work to bring like Bitcoin information to the people. And so my story today is about how it was possible to reopen a school in Zimbabwe, in Harare, with Bitcoin donations. And I was going to Zimbabwe earlier this year in February to do a podcast series about Bitcoin in Zimbabwe. And yeah, that's also when I met Alakanani in Botswana. And how do I facilitate blockchain? So basically for me, open blockchains and Bitcoin are a tool to give people and the individuals more freedom and basically a redistribution of wealth. So that's basically my interest in Bitcoin and open blockchains. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Fareshta, would you like to share more about your work?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Connie. Being born as a refugee in Iran, my parents are from Afghanistan, and a woman working in technology in Afghanistan, in a country that there's certainly a lot of pushbacks towards women's not only accessing equal rights and resources, was certainly my inspirations to create Code to Inspire as the first computer coding school for girls in Afghanistan. With Code to Inspire, we really want to address three important things. One is to create a safe and secure educational environment for the young ladies in Afghanistan to access equal resources for education, but also technology. Second, we offer the school for free. We really try to target the girls who come from underprivileged background so that they would be able to pursue technology for the future careers. And the third, which is the most important pillar of the work, is what kind of technical skills we should teach these young ladies so that it can convert into either employment opportunities within the community, or they can be entrepreneur and create their own startups, and either we can, send remote work for them. And in case of like working with blockchain and crypto, and the core of the work we do is really empowering women through technology so that they can be financially independent and gain financial freedom and really bridge the gender, digital, and economic divide. And I think the decentralized systems like internet and crypto, such as Bitcoin that we use, are important tools that they really helped us within the very first day that we opened the school since 2015 to really gain those financial freedoms and help the girls. And as one of the very early nonprofits in the crypto space, we've been receiving donations in cryptocurrency, and we are a long-time believer in holding it because we want to use the right moments to really put it in a way that we can help the circular economy in Afghanistan and empower women. So that's how we try to leverage cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in Afghanistan with women.
Amazing. I'm sure now everyone understands why I'm like, this is the best. Yeah, you're doing incredible, incredible work. I just absolutely love it. Marco, how about you? I know you're working on this impact market. New endeavor of yours is using this technology for universal basic income, but in a very, very interesting and innovative way.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This started. So previously, I started my first startup was about charitable giving and raising money for charities and getting like corporations, celebrities for charity options, crowdfunding, all that kind of things. That is more focused on the fundraising. And all those years, I've been kind of always struggling with, okay, we can raise money, but then how we manage it and how we distribute it and how we reach the end of the line, the tail on the beneficiary itself. And that's when like blockchain makes a lot of sense. And it allows us to basically to reach all these people and bankers and in a very easy way, they can just transfer money virtual for free. We are using a Celo protocol, so it's basically a fork of Ethereum, but in proof of stake. And it allows us to, we deployed several UBI. So basically here, like the local social organization can set up a community, a UBI community that is basically a smart contract where people can send money to that contract. And it has different parameters where it says how the money can go out of that contract and to who and which rules it has. So anyone in the field, like any beneficiary of those charities, can just claim money from that contract on a daily basis, and they can spend the money in whatever they want. We are now with over 500 beneficiaries we have like refugee camps in Ghana, communities in Nigeria, Cape Verde. We have a lot of favelas in Brazil. We are expanding quite fast. And we are now also trying, like we are paying people for each kilo of plastic they collect and deliver to recycling to create an extra income. So now we are testing these kind of additional layers of revenue streams for these people while doing like helping the environment in this case. So in 2 weeks, we collected like 1 ton, or the people collected 1 ton of plastic, and they sell it to like the more centric plastic recycling companies. And that money goes back to the system to pay more collection and also to help fund the UBI. So it's kind of the plastic funding, all of these, but also the philanthropy. So people can just send money to the contract and see like in the map and everything transparent. But basically, that's it.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome. I want to learn more about this. It sounds great. That's one of our goals that we've been working on at BitGive is leveraging the tech, but how do you reach the end beneficiary? That's the ultimate goal, right? That we don't have to convert it or worry about any of that, that we can actually get the funds to the individuals that really need them. So that's awesome. Great. Well, I think, we have the luxury of some extra time today that we didn't expect. So I have a lot of really interesting questions that I'd love to dive into with you guys. So I think, one thing I wanted to touch on, because you're all working in different parts of the world, is that, there's often a discussion on panels like this about what the obstacles are to your work. And a lot of times people talk about regulatory constraints and things like that. But I think it'd be really, and we can also talk about those things, but I think it'd be really interesting to hear, based on the different places in the world that you're doing work, what kinds of obstacles you've seen in implementing the projects that you're working on or are involved in. Excuse me. So can we start with you, Anita?
Yes, sure. So just to say that at the beginning, I don't have like an NGO running or a project like that. I'm doing the podcast and try to educate as many people as possible. And one of these projects was going to Zimbabwe to learn more about, is Zimbabwe ready for Bitcoin, or is Bitcoin ready for Zimbabwe? Because when we Bitcoiners try to explain Bitcoin to other people, very often we say it's perfect for use in a country like Zimbabwe. And so when I went there, I realized that the people have obstacles in their daily life that we can't even think of, you know. So, I mean, basically, Zimbabwe is a kleptocracy. So the ruling elite extracts natural resources and money from the country and is only there to enrich themselves. And adding to that, there are currency controls, so people cannot freely transact with other countries. For instance, if you have a business and you want to import some products, you have to ask the Central Bank of Zimbabwe if you're allowed to pay the contractor in the other country. And so the daily life is very hard for people there. The banking system is completely broken. It's very expensive to use. The local currency is called RTGS, is losing value every day. When I went to Zimbabwe at the beginning of February, you had to pay 23 RTGS for $1. And when I left 3 weeks later, you needed 43 RTGS for $1. So, and people know that the US dollar is a hard currency compared to their own local currency. So that's also the reason why in Zimbabwe, they immediately understand what Bitcoin is and what it can do for them, because it's uncensorable, permissionless, and they can transact it freely. And so that's the life situation is very hard. I mean, the average income for a maid or a gardener is about $10 a month, and they get, of course, the local currency. And a teacher, for instance, or a doctor in a hospital earns like $200. But the internet connections, for instance, are very expensive. They cost almost as much as here in Austria. And so that's also an obstacle for the use of Bitcoin in Zimbabwe, of course, because people are buying so-called internet bundles. So maybe they can only use WhatsApp, for instance. They can't download a non-custodial Bitcoin wallet like we do. And yeah, another obstacle, of course, is that the transaction fees on the Bitcoin blockchain sometimes are very high. So the Lightning Network basically would be very important to use for the people there. And also to have ways to earn Bitcoin would be a great thing, because African people are very young and they don't have jobs, and over the internet they could earn some money at least with Bitcoin. So and another obstacle in Zimbabwe, I have to say, is that the government, I mean, you don't have basic human rights in Zimbabwe. And Miss Aura, the teacher or the headmistress of the school I was doing this call for donations with, she really was scared. She didn't know if we didn't put the call for donations on the website of the school, for instance. We put it on my website because she was scared that maybe she is going to have problems then. So yeah, there are actually many problems to use Bitcoin in Zimbabwe, but it works. That's the other thing. And in Africa in general, most people think that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are a scam because they have been scammed in the last years so often that they really don't believe anymore that this is a real thing. So these are basically the obstacles for Zimbabwe and Africa. They are quite similar, but I mean, Zimbabwe is even harder, the life there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think it's really important for people to understand these things. And I think that's why you went there. That was the impetus behind going there. And in this industry, oftentimes, which is the exception with our awesome panel today, but oftentimes people are very first world focused, very developed country focused. They often don't think about what might be going on in other parts of the world and how this technology actually can help instead of, this sort of unfortunate trend in developed countries around trading and making money off of these, and creating random coins and things. I mean, it's just the beauty of the tech is just totally lost, I think, to a lot of people in the developed world. And I think sharing these things is incredibly important for those that aren't able to go like you were to visit and actually learn. So so thank you. Okay, so Fareshta, I imagine you have some very similar type challenges as well.
Yes, I agree with some points that Anita said, and I think there's a lot of similarities between Afghanistan and Zimbabwe, and I think a lot of other developing countries who do lack infrastructure, and the same as Afghanistan. Well, Afghanistan being really passing a lot of decades of war and conflict, so it made the country to have a very basic infrastructure to really support technologies like cryptocurrency and adaptation of it. I can say that from the work we do have a class for blockchain and cryptocurrency, which we just started about a couple of months ago. I can say that our organization is probably one of the very first and early organization and people who started talking about crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin in Afghanistan, and even sending crypto to Afghanistan. So the very important, I think, challenge here for us first is the lack of understanding. And not a lot of people know about this. And to Anita's point, a lot of people, when we talked about this, they thought that, oh, it's a scam, or like, what does even that mean? Like virtual currency, we can't touch it. Like how that's possible, like I think the lack of information is the big hurdle for people to accept that. And then certainly the adaptation of it. So as again, the lack of infrastructure and the target group that we are working with, who are women, a majority of them are unbanked, or they don't have access to any kind of financial institutions. Even though the beauty of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is financial freedom, and accessing the global economy. But the way that, for example, in Afghanistan, if you receive any kind of cryptocurrency, it's very difficult to convert them to fiat currency, because a lot of them at the end of the story wants to have cash and spend, the cash. So it is a big issue for us now in case of like how we can convert the cryptocurrency into Afghani, the fiat currency, so that people feel more comfortable about accepting it and using it even into day-to-day, businesses. And the third is the regulatory constraints, because it's something very new in Afghanistan and not a lot of people talked about it. I tried to, reach out to different ministries and, law enforcement, governmental organizations to talk about if there is any, laws about this, but because it's very new, they don't know what to do with it. And I think that's also would be a challenge for us, because if we want to start, using it and then sending it, we want to be, cautious about what the government is thinking about this, and not really making an issue for ourselves. Although with the work we do, I think we set an example of how amazing is this technology by sending the crypto to the girls in Afghanistan, so that they would be able to use it in a way that not only financially empower themselves, but also the community. So we hope that we can push this conversation as much as we can to raise awareness, but also explore possibilities of using crypto more widespread.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I know it's been a challenge from early on for you and your work to actually send the girls Bitcoin, because you don't first want them to be in any sort of danger or trouble by dealing with this stuff. It's the last thing we need. And of course, they need real money that they can put to use. And if it's not being able to convert, then that's a very, it's not helpful. So I hope, that's one of our goals too. I hope we can work together on this and push this through. I think it's really important, and the infrastructure is key globally. So, okay, so next we have Marco. It's interesting, actually, this panel and this question specifically, because I think you all are working in really unique places and contexts. So I'm curious to hear what your obstacles are that you've been facing.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we look at blockchain as that technology that can bypass everything. So we are kind of trying to do that. So we are based in Portugal, but yeah, and we have the government is supporting us. They know what we are doing. But for example, in Venezuela, that we also have pilots, it's very hard to cash out, and there is a high inflation. And what we actually give to people is a stable coin of dollars. So we never talk about blockchain or whatever. It's just, here's the app. It's just 1 minute to set up, and you can get dollars. And then you can choose to show it in your local currency. But when you transact, we tell people when you transact, what really is being transacted are dollars. So for example, we see in Venezuela, people are saving those dollars, and they are seeing the balance going up, because they know that eventually they can cash out, because, well, in Venezuela, we have to do kind of peer kind of cash outs. Mm-hmm. But the thing about the cash out is only the first time or the second time that we need to do that, because it's just for the people to believe that the money that is there is actually money. And because we are using this blockchain, it's actually free, virtually free to send. Make a transaction is instant. So also merchants want to be protected against hyperinflation. So everyone is incentivized to use dollars or to cash out in a peer-to-peer manner. For example, I'm the only one that have a bank account in this community, or I can cash out. So I can be the guy that can put a commission to cash out for others, for example. So it creates a kind of a market between everyone, and also the merchants want to provide cash out to the beneficiaries. And the merchants want to have all those beneficiaries and want to do that and accept this kind of payment, because they will be able to reach a wide audience that previously didn't have buying power. So this starts to force them to start kind of transacting, because they can get $1, $2, $3 a day each person. And as we expand the kind of the dynamics of the economic in the grounds, from all these kind of hundreds of people transacting starts to build up. So these people can start starting their own businesses, to getting together. For example, one case that happened in the first favela was, so when they were deciding who are the people that will be starting to get UBI, one of the women, so most of our pilots are supporting women, by the way. And women, single moms with 2-3 kids are the most common that we have been supporting. But for example, in the first community, a lot of people, because there was one person that the husband kind of beat her and steal all the money and all the phones and everything. So most of the people in that community were saying, no, maybe it's not a good idea to put her in this program, because all the money will be gone, and also for that guy, and that's not the thing. But a few of the people said, no, this is exactly why UBI makes sense, is to take these people out of their kind of struggling situation. So here's what we will do. Some of the women just saved some money from the UBI they were getting to buy a phone to the other person, so she can collect also that money when she is in the charity. So she has a phone, and she started to save the money, and now she can afford her own house instead to pay in a monthly. And also she's the one that is collecting more plastic on top of the UBI. So one of the things that we see is more the smartphone thing, that's kind of the an access to the internet, but usually those communities have a kind of wireless that they can, if they go to a specific place. For example, in Nigeria, they have to walk a little to go to a place where they can find wireless. Yeah, that's kind of, we believe that smartphones and internet connection will improve eventually. It's growing very fast, so it's just a matter of time. What we are more focused on, how to reach these people. And also there are some limitations. For example, in Venezuela, some apps related with crypto are not available on the store. So we have to create a kind of an open source and an APK so we can send, so they can download directly to the phone. But regardless that, as soon as the people realize that it's $1, it has value, I can convert it so after that, they transact within themselves. So after that is kind of, okay, go ahead. And then, well, let's see if there's some problems in the future.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. I've often wondered with a lot of the projects that maybe were earlier in the social impact space of this tech that were more token oriented. I often wondered how they would actually help people, because what are they going to do with these tokens? So yeah, I'm really
we never talk about we never talk about crypto or tokens or blockchain. This is an app as easy as your WhatsApp, and you have dollars there, and you can get dollars. That's US dollars, and they say, "Oh yeah, US dollars is cool."
It's beautiful because
end of the conversation, and then we say, if they start asking, I say, "Okay, this is kind of Bitcoin, but it's worth always $1." Oh, Bitcoin, yeah, that's cool. Oh, and then some of them even kind of bought some crypto because they started to dig in the technology.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Cape Verde, our pilot is with some young, so people that went out of college that now is unemployed, but are young people with kind of knowledge about the technology. So they kind of started to dig in to understand, okay, what is this technology? How are we receiving dollars in Cape Verde that usually is only through PayPal, and if we have luck, how is this work? So now it's interesting that this technology is amazing because it's allowing us to do this that we are not. How can I get involved on this? How can I program on this? So this is interesting because build them skills, because we believe that this industry will be like the next 10 to 20 years will be like the new thing of the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of kind of side effects that we are seeing. That's very cool.
Yeah. I really was impressed by the point that when they realize that it is real money and it has real value, that they're willing to then trade it and use it with merchants, and merchants are willing to accept it, because that breaks through that whole issue of people creating random tokens and random economies around them and expecting them to work somehow. It sounds like this is actually working, which is great.
If it is not US dollar, it's very difficult. If it is not stable, it's very, very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I want to be mindful of the time and see how much more we can cover, because I think you guys, of course I'm biased, but I think that the work you guys are doing is the most important work in this industry, and perhaps even broader than that in many ways. And so I want to make sure we cover more of what you're doing. I think it would be interesting to talk about how your work has evolved over the last few years. I mean, some of you have been more involved in this for a long time, and some of you have, for a few years. So maybe just kind of talking about how you've seen things change from early on to now, and how they've hopefully gotten better, but in some cases, maybe not. Anita, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, I came into this space in 2017, just before the last price all-time high. And back then I decided to work in the space, to be an educator about Bitcoin in the German-speaking world, actually. And I mean, after a time, I realized in Western Europe, in Germany and Austria, people are not really interested in Bitcoin. I mean, they are interested in it only as a tool to gain profit, like to make quick money. And that was never what I was interested in. And so I realized, okay, basically Bitcoin is more for people in Africa or in other regions of the world who need it much more than we do here. And that was the shift. Then I started doing English education, and it was also the reason why I went to Zimbabwe, because I thought, where could I support the whole thing the most? It's not here in Austria. It's in Zimbabwe. I have a friend living in Zimbabwe, so I had the chance to go there and to get early contacts, to do these interviews with the people who are using Bitcoin already. And I can say the same as Marco said before, as soon as people realize that this is real money. I mean, Aura, the school director, she said to me, and then I had this Bitcoin on my smartphone and I had to cry because I didn't know what I'm doing with this monopoly money. Yeah. And I connected her to a local, to a guy, a Bitcoiner, and she met with him like peer-to-peer, and she said, and he really gave me money. And I said, are you sure? and he said, yeah, of course, that's money. And it was so fascinating to see also, because then immediately she started to use it. And she said to me the last time, the first time I spent all the Bitcoin for US dollars and for the school. This time I learned and I saved some parts of this fraction of a Bitcoin for later, because now I know it will gain probably. And she also started to use it to pay for other freelancers in Kenya or Ghana, I think. So they, as soon as they are set up in a way, with the basics, and have, I guess Ferishte has the same experience, they immediately start to learn about it and use it. And that's, I think, very fascinating. And that's also what keeps me doing this, yeah. And maybe I can add something about Alakanani in Botswana.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I went there then also for a week, and we did a Bitcoin meetup together in Gaborone. Yeah. So Alakanani is doing these meetups in the, she called that the Satoshi Center, and to educate people, students on Bitcoin and blockchains. And she's doing really great work there. And she's the center of Botswana, I think, in terms of peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading. When I was there, she got calls on her phone all the time when people were asking her how they can get Bitcoin. And she's really great, because I saw her talking to the group, and she was like a preacher, like preaching the love of Bitcoin, and that they shouldn't fall for scams and all those other things. So she's really doing a great job in Botswana.
She is. I idolize Ala. She's amazing. And having known that she got involved in this technology in 2013, and perhaps even earlier, she kind of knew about it and then kind of had to deal with some very unfortunate family situations and then came back to Bitcoin. And being in Botswana and with the challenges she faces, like today, she was not able to join us because she doesn't have a strong internet connection. But she's creating this community there, and a center and a school, and teaching people, and she's teaching children, she's teaching adults, and facilitating trading and cashing out, and she's just really creating a community there around this that's knowledgeable and can really benefit from the technology, which I think is great. And I think it's important, like you said, basically that education is the key, right? That we have to be able to reach people, but in a meaningful way, so that they actually understand this isn't a scam, it's not monopoly money, it's very real. And then suddenly the light bulbs goes off and they start learning about more. And like Marco said, they want to learn how to code, and they get, it's like, and I know Fereshta has, girls learning now how to code for blockchain and crypto, and it's just super cool. So, okay, so I'll stop talking and let Marco answer. Oh, I'm sorry, Fereshta. Talk about how you've seen things change over the years. I know you've been involved for a long time as well.
Sure. Well, when we started at school, 2015, just the fact that we're talking about only technology and just encouraging the girls in a young age to learn about coding and computer science was very difficult. We only had 50 students, but since then we've educated more than 250 students in our coding school in different coding classes. And as I said, we started a blockchain crypto class that we have now about 10 students who are learning, and they're getting into the coding aspects of it. And if you see our Twitter account, they tweet every day about what they learn. It's very heartwarming to see that they're very excited about learning this technology. But in case of certainly talking about how we can empower them financially, we've done about 20 outsourced projects worth of $20,000, which went to the girls' pocket. These are the girls that they've never get paid, and the average monthly income salary in Afghanistan is $150. So some of them actually made triple or double than the men in the family. But for us really to think about, they would be the people who receive the money firsthand. It's very important because right now we receive the payment and then we send it to our account in Afghanistan and they get the cash. So to make that happen, creating this blockchain crypto class, our goal is that the girls are from that geographical region and they know the issue. So they should just learn how to code and create the solution around it. And to make that happen, we are also actively thinking about setting up the first Bitcoin ATM in Afghanistan in our school, because that's, I think, the issue of when you want to convert your crypto to fiat, that's a big issue. And once we solve that piece of a puzzle, I think the next would be very easy. So we're working on that, and hopefully our goal is to maybe by the first quarter of the next year, we have the ATM set up in our school so that the girls work around it, they learn it and send and receive some, like crypto and understand it. And then we would be able to maybe transfer that to a public place and encourage more businesses to use it and do research about how it really changed the life of the people in there. So we are very excited, and I think there's certainly a big potential for this project to grow on a scale, and especially looking that the women would be at the front of this revolution, I can say, in Afghanistan. It's very exciting. So I'm very hopeful to see what comes next in 2021.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm seeing a scene from an inspirational documentary here. This is just super cool. Wow. I know I'd love to be a part of that as much as we can at BitGive. If we can help maybe do another campaign with you guys or anything we can do to help make that happen, I would love to see that happen. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so Marco, how about you? I don't know how long you've been working on Impact Market, but I think you've been in the space doing other things, like you mentioned, related. So maybe you can share a bit about, how you've seen things evolve.
Yeah. So Impact Market is online 3 months now. So it's quite new. Yeah, but I've been in the philanthropy space and also developing fundraising platforms for a while. And yeah, I think that this technology changes everything on the philanthropy space. It's just a matter of bringing the theory to the real world and implement it and just do stuff and see what it works. But I've been seeing a lot of the DeFi is really interesting, and what we also the beneficiaries have been asking. So initially it was but you are giving us money, but why are you giving us money? But we don't need to do anything. And then it was a mess. People no, that's there is one community that is very Catholic, and they say, no, if you are giving us free money, you are from the devil, and we don't want that. And then wait a minute, and then we have to go and talk, and then they say, okay, now we understand, that's okay. So one of the things that they asked interesting was microcredit and collective savings, and this is something that is very, very easy to do with blockchain. So something that they can just put the money to save altogether, because it's altogether generating interest, and that interest can be kind of like a lottery for one of them, or just they asked for microcredit, and with a smart contract, you can execute an instant microcredit, like for anyone. And they asked like, but even if my name is dirty on the bank, I said, no, we don't care about the banks. It doesn't matter. And I said, oh, that's amazing. And so I see that, well, this industry, I'm also kind of a nerd. I love the technology. I'm from the technology side, but I think that this industry is now finally going out of the traditional developer that look at this as a way to maximize profit or just to explore the technology. We are now seeing exactly what blockchain should be meant to do, is to reach all the ones that the system does not reach, and with a very good execution. So it's something like in Africa, a lot of went directly from phones. They didn't have phone. They went to smartphone straight away. Here, I believe that the financial system for a lot of people, they will never know like the centralized system. They just go to an app, it works. I can generate interest and ask for microcredit and transact dollars for free for anyone in the world. Like, I don't need to do a KYC to do that. I don't need to open a bank account. I don't need credit score. So that's why they are so amazed by this. And I became more amazed at how this technology exists for 10 years and it's not so widely yet distributed in these places. Yeah. But I think that COVID had like a kind of a trigger on that as well.
Yeah.
We have to look at these kind of tragedies through a good perspective. So yeah, I'm seeing that now we are onboarding, like yesterday we onboarded like more communities than all the previous 3 months, because now one favela adopts it, the second favela as well, and then they talk between themselves and they say, yeah, if you want to cash out, you can do this way, or you can cash out just one person, and they said, oh, okay, that's nice. Oh, you are using it? Yes, every day. Oh, great. So it's free money. Even if you send free money to these people in dollars, they eventually will do something with that, because all of us have this money and this is real money. Well, let's just, let's figure out a way to use it, because these people actually need this money. Because most of the people today have Bitcoin and not from like a developed country. That doesn't make sense. It has to be the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to hear that it's spreading, through the community, because people will listen to people they know instead of random technology people. Okay, so our time flew by. Here I thought we had a lot of extra time and we could go into all sorts of other things, but we're down to 2 minutes. So what I think I'd like to do, if you guys can, quickly do this, is since it's the holiday season, I'd like to do a fun exercise of what is on your wish list, or what would you like to see happen next with your work or within the industry. Anita?
Oh, on my wish list is, the possibility for people to earn Bitcoin, like over the Lightning Network. I'm excited. There's something called Podcasting 2.0 now, where podcasters can earn streaming money, so Satoshis, while people listen to their podcast. So, and with all those micropayments, there will be new forms of paying content creators and people who are working online. I think that's a great thing. And in the future, I'm excited and very optimistic for the future of Bitcoin and the freedom for people. And I'm looking forward to do interviews which I did last week with, for instance, the Feminist Coalition from Nigeria, who also connected Bitcoin donations for their peaceful protest against police brutality. And so, that's great. Basically the way to go also for next year for me, and I'm excited.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so we're almost out of time, so Preshta, go.
The wish list is to set up the first Bitcoin ATM in Afghanistan to build Afghanistan 2.0.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it.
And for us next year to become the biggest private UBI experiment ever done, with over 100,000 people, and to end extreme poverty by 2030. It's like our goals, and we are now looking for, if you know, like more communities that actually need UBI. We in the most difficult places, that's where we want to go. So just let us know. We have some money to give.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I hope everyone who's listening and will listen later helps you all reach these amazing goals. I really, really enjoyed this time with all of you and talking with you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, which I feel like it just flew by. But for everyone who's watching now and who may watch this later, we're going to put together some information for each of these speakers, including Ala Kanani, who couldn't make it today, and push it out on my personal social and BitGive social, so you can actually follow them and learn more about each of them and their work. So thank you so much,
Connie,
each of you.
Connie, can you listen to me?
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Connie, are you listening to me?
Thank you.
Yes?
Connie, I want to know what's in your wish list.
Well, thanks. Actually, we have quite some goals with BitGive that we're trying to reach. We've built a platform, and we've started working with over 20 NGOs, including Code to Inspire with Fareshta's NGO. We'd love to scale that. So we're looking for support for BitGive as well as our NGO partners to scale our platform and our impact globally and beyond the 20 NGOs in 24 countries we've already been so lucky to work with. So.
Great. Bueno, I wanted to share with you, you have on your side today, you had also someone doing some drawings, yes, of your talk. So we will share this drawing to you and with all the community in our Twitter later, yes. But it's a very nice work that we have done secretly, yes. Sorry for her because we didn't place her on stage before. But we've been doing secretly since the first day. So every English talk we had has its own summary, yes, visual summary for you to share. So thank you. It was awesome. very great to host you. Yes, thank you, Connie, for moderating. Thank you, Ferestag, Marco, and Anita. Yes, and I hope we see us again, but in real life in Guatemala 2021. Okay? So now, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bueno, guys, I will introduce now the video. I will be introducing now the video of Jimmy's song. Yes, an incredible video, 3D video, our last 3D video. But before that, I would like, listen me, Agustin, who's there raising the hand. Agustin, listen me. I would like to add the video of Guatemala. Can you put me on stage the video of Guatemala? So, when I went to Guatemala, yes, this year we were planning to go to Guatemala. We were planning to do this live event, live conference as everyone else that we had to postpone, yes. But it was going to be hosted in Guatemala. And I had a huge experience, a very good experience there with a team of people that were really interested in us there, and they prepared this video, this short video for introducing Guatemala, which will be our next spot, our next step, yes, in 2021. And we hope that if you enjoyed what you've had in this online conference, yes, we do this and much more emotions, yes, but live in our conferences. So we invite you to come down to Guatemala, and I will say 3, 2, 1. Thank you, the guys of HOGAX. Thank you, Juan, for doing this, Pedro, and all the team of them during Guatemala. Thank you for setting up this short video. And that's how Bit Conf is. It's about the culture. It's about the nature. We will submerge ourselves in the Mayan culture also. This is beyond the conference. even though you will be able to check all the content and see the speakers and all that, yes, you will also be able, if you get the experience ticket, yes, you will be able to travel with all of them into the Mayan culture, yes, into the mountains, into the lakes, and really live and experiment different things like doing stuff with the cotton and creating chocolate by yourself, well, stuff like that. Really enjoyable. I hope you are able to join us next year, December next year, yes, in Guatemala. And now, the final 3D video. I hope you've seen the one we did with Ala Kanani, who unfortunately she couldn't be in the last panel. She was expected to be there. She had connecting issues, yes, internet issues. But fortunately we had her in a video at the beginning of the day. Yes, check it out. It was a very nice video. But the one is coming now. I think it's a very interesting message for being the last topic. Yes, it's a message that you need to see, you need to understand, and it's beautifully done. So I want to thank also again, like for the 30th time, yes, I want to thank the Lafia Studio. They've been doing all these videos for us. Yes, they've been doing much more than what we expected, much more than what we paid for, much more than everything. They put their passion into this. So thank you, De Lafia, for your work, your hard work. Yes, I hope you get much more future works based on what you've done here. And welcome Jimmy Song, yes, and his moral case for Bitcoin.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Song. I'm a Bitcoin developer, educator, and entrepreneur. In this talk, I'm going to talk about the moral case for Bitcoin. One of the most important parts of the Bitcoin journey is learning to talk about Bitcoin in a way that connects with people. There have been a lot of approaches. There's the investment case for Bitcoin, the self-sovereignty case for Bitcoin, and even the societal case for Bitcoin. What there hasn't been is the moral case for Bitcoin. The moral case for anything is a different beast than the others, because we're not appealing to self-interest. We're appealing to something that's deeper in the human soul. For this reason, a moral argument resonates deeper and trumps other arguments. By making this argument for Bitcoin, we're taking the moral high ground, an argument that's stickier and more lasting. There are two theories of individual rights: natural law and positivism. The first is the theory of natural law. This is the idea that rights are something we already have, that if they're violated by anyone, including the government, that it is wrong. This view is ancient, but probably the clearest expression of this is in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The reason why colonists felt justified in declaring independence was because their natural rights were being violated by England. The English king was violating their already existing rights, and therefore the government was doing something wrong, and therefore was not a legitimate government. That was their argument. In other words, a government that does not respect natural rights no longer deserves to govern. That's the basis of natural law. Individuals already have certain rights, and any government that violates those rights is an illegitimate government. The other view of individual rights is the idea that the government grants individuals certain rights, and that the government is the arbiter of what an individual can and cannot do. Generally, this means that unless the government explicitly gives you a right, that it is not a right you have. An example of this is a license to cut hair. Individuals do not have the right to cut hair unless you get the government's permission first. Essentially, in this framework, the government determines what's right and what's wrong. Why do people follow natural law? First of all, it's common sense, like the tract from 1776 by Thomas Paine. Saying something is common sense is another way of saying it's inborn or intuitive. Natural law says that it is wrong to murder people because people have a right to life, for example. That's hopefully inborn or intuitive for you. Second, natural law is just. Natural law treats people equally, not based on wealth, ethnicity, or political savvy. We don't give certain people one set of rights and deny it to another set of people. Third, natural law is individual-centric. Individuals have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Individuals have freedom under natural law. Now, why would anyone like positivism? Generally, those who like positivism are people in power. First, positivism is much easier to enforce. Positivism defines rights each individual has, so if the right is not explicitly given, then the individual is in violation. Judging right and wrong under positivism is much, much easier. Second, positivism is great for those in power because they can treat people differently. Third, positivism allows those in power to set the rules. They don't have any restrictions on those rules because they are by definition moral under positivism. There's no higher authority that you can appeal to and say this is unfair. At this point, I want you to recognize that natural law is moral and positivism is highly immoral. With this distinction in mind, let's talk about the role of government. Government can take two possible roles: protecting individual liberty or pursuing an elitist vision. If you believe in natural law, that we already have rights, then the government's job is to protect those rights. The opposite is the pursuit of an elitist vision. Marx's workers' paradise or Hitler's racially pure world are two visions that led to slaughter. But those aren't the only possibilities. An elitist vision can be something as simple as not ever having any sort of terrorist attack on a plane. This is how we get ridiculous things like the TSA. Another elitist vision is preserving the status quo. That's how we get bailouts and too big to fail. Conservatives are much more prone to this sort of vision, which isn't surprising since preserving the status quo is literally conservative. The sad reality of today's political discourse is that we're not arguing about protecting individual liberty, we're arguing for different elitist visions. When the government's role is to protect individual liberty, we get a lot of good things. There's a lot more entrepreneurship because no one needs permission, and that ultimately leads to civilization being built up by sovereign individuals. When the government's role is pursuit of an elitist vision, we get lots of bad things. There's a lot less stuff being built because there's permission required. There always needs to be some sort of bureaucratic stamp of approval on whatever it is that anyone wants to do. Violations mean you lose your property, your liberty, and possibly even your life. Ultimately, individuals become slaves to the state. When the government protects individual liberty, then the state takes the proper role of being a servant to the people. A positivist pursuit of an elitist vision has its own money, fiat. A natural law protection of individual liberty has its own money too, Bitcoin. We can see that clearly in its properties. Fiat money is clearly centralized, with control of money from a powerful central entity, like the Federal Reserve. Bitcoin is decentralized, with every individual having power through running their own node. Fiat money requires permission to possess it. Bitcoin is better than even gold in the sense that it is unconfiscatable. Fiat money can be devalued at will, giving positivist governments the funds to pursue their elitist vision. Fiat lets governments tax without the consent of the governed. Bitcoin gives power back to the individual, not allowing the stealth taxation, and respects individual liberty. Fiat money uses violence to get its ends. Fiat is a zero-sum game where the state benefits at the expense of individuals. Bitcoin is voluntary and positive sum because people only trade when it adds value to both parties. Fiat money is a positivist money, a tool of governments pursuing an elitist vision. Bitcoin is a natural law money, a tool to protect individual liberty. Bitcoin is therefore the more moral money. The second order effects of Bitcoin are in the realm of individual character. We can look at this in terms of the four classical cardinal virtues: prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. Prudence is what we in Bitcoin call low time preference, that is planning for the future. Fiat money is the opposite, and you can see it in the enormous amounts of debt everyone has. Individuals become more high time preference and become slaves to their debt. Temperance is doing things the right amount. Fiat money encourages consumption, and thus individuals are not incentivized to learn self-control. This causes everything from materialism to obesity to addiction. Bitcoin is the opposite and causes people to save and measure their consumption. This means there's more self-control and more temperance. Justice is doing things fairly. Fiat money is unfair in a whole host of ways. Politically connected people get rich through rent-seeking. Bitcoin is much more fair because it's a free market and a meritocracy. Fortitude is courage or guts. Fiat money incentivizes rent-seeking, not risk-taking entrepreneurial endeavors. Bitcoin encourages entrepreneurs and therefore encourages new goods and services. Prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. Bitcoin makes civilization not just better, but more moral. The moral case for Bitcoin is that Bitcoin aligns with natural law. Bitcoin gives us protection for individual rights, something most governments are slowly abandoning. The sad reality is that the world is becoming more and more tyrannical. Those in power, both on the left and right, pursue elitist visions instead of protecting individual liberty. If you care about protecting individual rights, then Bitcoin is what we must pursue, and fiat must be destroyed. Fiat, delenda est. It's been a pleasure speaking at La Bit Conf. God bless.
Es lo que está haciendo el señor, ahí está del VR. Está saliendo el fotógrafo. Eso es como VR, ¿no? Es como que estábamos ahí.
Okay. We are finally reaching the end of La Bit Conf. We have just reached the end of La Bit Conf. This has been an amazing experience for us doing this online and trying to find a way of doing it different, doing it fun, doing it in an attractive way. Yes, I think we achieved this. The feedback that we've been getting was very...
People love it. It fulfilled
our expectations.
And this concept that we always try to bring to la BitConf.
An experience.
An experience.
Not just a conference, it to be an experience. I think we've been actively achieving that. Yes. I want to especially thank Diana Gomez here, who has been in charge of all the organizations of the hundreds of different elements to put up this, and she's been working all the content of the 3D videos. Yes, one thing is getting the audio, another thing is creating this story around the audio, no? I mean, creating all the elements, and she's been actively working this with the guys of the LATAM, to whom I thanked just some minutes before. So thank you, Diana, for supporting this project and being a very relevant part in this. We are just pretty faces, yes, but I'm just a pretty face. Then we have all the rest of the team that tries to do something. But I want to thank everyone here. Yes, she's been working with all the communications, all the Twitter, all the elements that you've seen in our communications. She was behind. She was here in the Spanish version.
She has a name, Camila,
yes. Mariana,
yes.
Juli, the guy, and Mariana.
And we have, I mean, to be honest, this is a team that has been with us at la BitConf for many, many years. Some of them more recently, but all of them for many years, and many that are not here, because of course, we couldn't have physically everybody here.
Franco,
Gabriel Kurman,
Dante, Alex from Spain. Grace has been also
very active.
Somehow. We had also Lunatic Coin, yes, who is just an icon.
One of the best podcasters.
Yes, one of the best podcasters in Spanish. Yes, you need to check it.
And well, Juli from Satoshi Catering here. She does the catering and
in every single event we do.
In every single event we do, and she gets paid in Bitcoin, no, for many years. So Satoshi Catering as well.
Bueno, Marcela Cons,
Efraín Barraza.
Managing all the economic aspects with sponsors. So, bueno, thanks to everyone, yes, that has been joining us.
Yes, and for sure we are forgetting people, because this is a big team that is voluntarily building la BitConf with us. So we thank you very much. And I think, you know...
That's it. Tomorrow, yes. Again, please move, everybody move. This is not normal. You will have a different experience. You already been in a digital world. You already been using VR. Okay, but we had also created a special experience on the moon. So stay with us tomorrow, 8:00 p.m. in Argentinian time. Yes, we are GMT -3. Join us in this VR experience. Yes, if you have a PC, you will be able to connect. If you have a Rift, HTC, or whatever VR helmet, you will be able to play. Yes, you will need to join the VR chat. If you want to get more information about how to access, please register to labitconf.com. You still have time today. We will be sending...
At what time does the party start?
8:00 again.
8
o'clock in the PM.
Argentinian time, which is GMT -3.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Again.
So, because Rodolfo thinks that the only country that exists
I
is
said
Argentina.
GMT -3.
Okay.
Well,
so,
if you want to get the access, yes, you need to register to la BitConf, and you will get an email with all the instructions, or actually in the lobby, you can click in the rocket that takes you to the moon, and you will see the instructions to connect on Saturday. So, Saturday, 8 p.m. GMT -3. We hope we see all the Bitcoin community there enjoying the party on the moon. See you
on the moon tomorrow.
And in Guatemala in 2021.
Yes. Thank you.